Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast.
Coming to you out of SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 152. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill, and joining me here as always, except when he's not, BT Calloway.
Oh, hoi hoi.
And brand new first-time guest, Peter Zaluzny.
How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you, and thank you for joining us for the Simpsons Index. This is the podcast where we watch and review 3 episodes of The Simpsons at a time, but there's a twist. Each episode must come from a different decade. Now, Peter, you're new to the podcast. We like to ask our first-time guests, what is your Simpsons history? Where did The Simpsons begin with you?
Like a lot of people, so I'm 30 years old, and most people my age grew up in the 90s when it was on TV and saw the transition from it becoming, a funny show that was on once a week to just being ubiquitous. Like, I remember when it was just on once or twice a week, and then Sunday nights was new episode night, and then every night at 6 p.m, you'd switch over from the ABC cartoons finishing to Channel 10, and you'd rewatch all the old ones during the week, and then Sunday night, the brand new ones were. There's a certain generation of people where it just stuck with you, and then it becomes part of my life and my friends' lives to the point where, like, a few of us can just drop a quote in mid-conversation and everyone will laugh, and that just kept it in my life since then. So it's, probably been 20 years of The Simpsons, I'd say, at this point. From when I first started watching it. So
Yeah, I think it's many of our longest-lasting relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, you totally reminded me, though, like, in all the episodes of the podcast, I totally forgot that I used to do that, too. Watch the Nickelodeon cartoons on ABC.
Yeah, and the adult ones that start at, like, 5:30. So you'd have Daria or something, and then, you get The Simpsons at 6 o'clock for half an hour. Then you'd have dinner, and then your parents would say, all right, it's 7 o'clock, time to watch ABC News, and then take the TV away from you.
Elliot's final notes.
Yeah. So on the flip side of that, we also like to ask, where did the show end with you? Where did you drop off?
So I've seen all the way up to season 20, because I was curious. But I'm also not one of those people that ardently sticks to the golden era between seasons 2 and 10 or whatever it seems to be.
Yeah.
For me, I will happily watch up to about season 13.
Yeah.
And then even go as far as season 15 for a few episodes here and there. And for me, the transition started to happen where I got less interested, where the distinct thing was when the inclusion of celebrities in the show stopped being part of the episode and was just a look who we can get on the show.
Yeah.
So like I was thinking when we were watching this episode before, thinking about the one where Mark Hamill's in it. And just the way they play him into the plot and make fun of him the whole time, and he's just constantly getting beaten down, and he's totally in on the gag. That stuff's really funny.
Yeah, whereas now it's like, Elon Musk, what are you doing in Springfield?
I saw was it the 500th episode? They had Julian Assange.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, Julian, what are you doing here? Like, just like what you said. And so that was the turning point for me where I became a bit less interested in it. But yeah, we'll still go up to season 15 every now and then.
Yeah. Well, no, it's interesting you mentioned that because, on our spreadsheet, we see a distinct drop-off between season 15 and 16 where, even season 15, there's still it's a bit of a 50-50 split of good and bad episodes. But then season 16, that just drops right down.
Yeah, and it kind of went from, I think it was was it season 11 or something? Was it Al Jean that took over as showrunner?
Season 13, I think,
or thereabouts, yeah. And he brought along the really wacky plots, The show went from being grounded to just all these far-out insane situations. But the first couple of seasons of that new style was kind of fun because they were just trying all these different ideas and it worked.
Yeah.
And then they tried to maintain the wackiness and they evidently clearly ran out of ideas. So that was the other turning point for me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, thank you for coming today and letting me subject you to a post-20 episode. And we didn't go that far past the 20th season. We just watched season 21, episode 11, $1 Million Maybe. First released in January of 2010, it was directed by Chris Clemens, written by Bill Odenkirk. In this episode, Marge and Homer are doing a toast for one of their relatives' wedding, but Homer misses the toast because he was buying a lottery ticket, which, as it turns out, he won, but he got in a car crash. And so, he's hiding it from Marge. Look, this is really convoluted. We'll get into it a bit. But also, in the B story, Lisa buys the old folks' Homer Funtendo Z.
What could that be?
Fucking hell. What'd you guys think?
Well, first of all, should have asked you this question earlier. Now I'm glad I can swear on this podcast because that did...
Cock-slapping fuckballs you can.
What a swear fuckery of a podcast. Fuck.
No, swear all you cunting want.
Oh, excellent. No, damn it. No, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, look, I did go in skeptical because it is a later season one, and I do try not to be a later season hater, but they just make it so damn easy to do that. It certainly wasn't awful,
Yeah.
but I was watching it, and my takeaway was nothing really happened here. It was 20 minutes of sort of sight gags, which were okay. There were some bits that, we all laughed out loud at, which was still good to see. And it shows that they still do have good writers there that can drop a good joke every now and then.
Yeah.
But it just sort of was flat. Nothing occurred. So I'm glad it wasn't outright awful, because I have seen some episodes where I've just gone, what the fuck was that? That was just terrible. But there was nothing that made me, I think, as is often the case with a lot of people, it just made me think about other early episodes of The Simpsons that I wanted to watch, that they were kind of, like when the episode starts with Homer playing piano on Marge, all I could think of was, there was nothing in Al Capone's fault, but it wasn't Geraldo's fault. So, yeah. And you can kind of see in the later seasons, too, where they've clearly gone back to the early ones and just tweaked ideas a little bit rather than coming up with new stuff, because they can't after so long, so
The well runs dry.
Yeah. Man, this is a weird one where both a lot happens and nothing happens. And that's very hard to explain, but so many things and then so few things.
Well, no, we were
Mixed
saying it
feelings on this
before
one.
the record, is just how do you summarize this plot? And I'm like, oh, fuck, I have to summarize this plot. It's part of the bit.
Yeah, Homer is in a coma for a little bit, but then he's got this fortune, but then he can't tell Marge about it because she'll know about it, but then this and this other thing and this other thing. It's like, blah, 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 blah. And then there's still a B plot even with all this stuff happening.
Yeah. Well, let's do a deep dive into this episode. We'll start with you, BT. For better or worse, what's a moment that stands out to you?
One I'm going to really dwell on is, because there were a few moments in this where I had to just stop and go, wait, what the fuck just happened? And the first time this really happened is Homer drives off this cliff and he's plummeting and he goes past this guy who's like, oh, I'm this new guy in Springfield and, oh, that guy fell off a cliff. What a wacky time. Well, it's time for my catchphrase. And he drives into the side of a mountain and dies. It's like, who the fuck was that guy?
Yeah.
What the fuck just happened?
I'm looking at Wikipedia now to see if that was a celebrity reference we didn't get.
I just completely no idea. And I thought, okay, maybe this is going to be part of the plot, because when he wakes up from the coma, he's all like, there's a mysterious lotto winner. We don't know who it is. So I thought, okay, maybe it's going to be a misdirect. Homer thinks he won, but it was actually this guy who died, and that's why it's not being claimed. Nope, nothing to do with anything. Never mentioned or thought about again.
Yeah. So this is something that, it did come up in my research, and I am just reading this off the Wikipedia, so... But this is fascinating.
Okay.
This character that's less like, what the fuck is this? The episode featured a new character created by the winner of Best Character Ever contest, in which fans could submit their own ideas for a new and possibly recurring Simpsons character.
No.
Over 25,000 entries were sent in. The winner of the contest was Peggy Black from Orange, Connecticut, who created the character of Ricardo Bomber. She described Ricardo as someone that all the women love and all the men want to be.
Wow, what an original idea.
As part of the winning prize, Black was sent to work with the show's producers in Los Angeles. She worked with the animators to bring character to life. Executive producer Al Jean was one of the judges of the contest, which he described as a thank you to loyal fans. But the character has not come back.
Well, yeah, because he's dead.
Yeah.
Of course he's not back. He died. What was that part of the prize? Have a character. Have them murdered immediately. Have the entire world who doesn't know about this contest wonder why that just happened.
Also, if you're going to bring another character into the show again, just bring back Roy. We all loved Roy.
Yeah.
But this character as well, like, out of 25,000 entries, this was the best. Some cheap, tacky Casanova Latin character.
Yeah, some suave Latin character who that's why I was making fun when you say all the ladies want to love him, all the men want to be him. That's a literal cliche.
Yeah.
How is this a win? What the fuck is going on? Why is this here? Why does this exist? What is life?
Yeah, but I imagined and developed this character all on my own.
Yeah, wow, I must have spent all afternoon on that. Maybe, just on the toilet thinking about it.
It had to be a situation where they had all the entries on a wall and just closed their eyes and threw a dart. I think
they couldn't afford a dart. They just threw an intern.
They frisbeed it
like Bart.
Yeah.
Actually, that was a gag in this episode that made me laugh when Homer kept frisbeeing Bart like that.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Go rent us a truck.
Yeah.
How about you, Peter? What stands out to you from this episode for better or worse?
That was one of them, but also the bit where Homer is telling Barney about having all the money. And then he goes, you can take whatever you want out of that tree. That's not the money tree. No, it's where I keep my adult magazines. And then it's all like Economist Mag and things like that. It just dragged on.
Yeah.
That joke just went for way too long. And the reason that sticks out to me is because one thing with later seasons that you notice, the writing's not as sharp and quick as it used to be, you know? Like they do drag gags out a little bit too much. And I feel like as well as The Simpsons have gone on, they've gone from making Homer a moron with a big heart who really wants to try and do his best and can't because he's not very smart, just being an outright buffoon.
Yeah.
And that was a very joke where I was just like, this is what annoys me about new seasons, because he's just like, my adult magazines. Ha, ha, ha. It was just a weird little exchange that didn't need to be in there and didn't need to go for that long, where they could have put
anything else.
Into a story that was really convoluted, and they could have developed the story a bit more. So,
because at that point I thought it was going to be, okay, now Barney's going to want to cut.
Yeah.
And then later on he's going to have to fly to someone else, and they're going to want to cut, and we kind of like get a kind of simple plan out of this.
Yeah.
But
No,
the movie, not the band.
but no, they added Bart as the person who's then blackmailing him, which, is an unnecessary extra step when they could have just had Barney do it.
Yeah.
And they attempt to insert Moe into it as well.
That was so bizarre. So it was like, I just walk around saying that, hoping it'll work. Well, goodbye.
Yeah.
Off I go. I'm like, wow, you thought about that one. Did you write that line at the same time you were coming up with this new character?
Yeah.
It's just as inspired.
Yeah, and what stands out to me, because we'll probably be able to knock it over in this question, the Funtendo Z subplot, which didn't have an end.
Yeah, no, its ending was, we destroyed it because it was making the old people complain too much, and now they have nothing again.
Yeah.
And this could have been an easy heart moment, is kind of what bugs me, is to have Lisa say to Grandpa, I'm sorry you're in such a, terrible place where they won't let you have any fun, and have him say, look, you made us happy for a while, and what you need to learn about happiness is it does end, and you need to treasure it while it's there.
Yeah.
So thank you for what you did, and we'll never forget it. Although we'll probably forget it because we're old. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. And just a tiny bit of heart to just put a little bow on this ending, because it's over.
Yeah.
That kind of characterized that episode, though. I think they were doing so much with it, and it all got so messy that all the plot lines just stopped. The B story just stopped. The main story just stopped. It all just went, that's it.
If I may mention film classic Dude, Where's My Car? It feels a little bit just like, and then, and then, and then, and then. It's just adding and adding and adding and adding without kind of coming around or having any of these things connect properly.
Yeah. I think you meant to say Academy Award-winning film, Dude, Where's My Car?
Wait, it did?
No.
It should have.
I mean, we live in a
travesty.
We live in a world where Bart Simpson has an Oscar, so
That's true.
Let's never forget that. So,
Also, Suicide Squad as well, I think.
yeah, best
Really?
costume.
Yeah.
Bullshit. I mean,
that's right. Yeah, it did
if
too.
you ever need proof they can buy Oscars, there it is.
Yeah. But that didn't feel like it had much to say as well, and it felt like it was setting something up, and the women who run the old folks' home destroying it, that's like your big plot twist. Oh shit, you know, now here's the thing we have to come over later. And
Nope.
no, that was the end of it.
Yeah, it felt wasted.
Yeah.
You know?
And especially because, there is comments to make about people working in nursing homes and, elder abuse and all that sort of stuff. But it just didn't. And it's just, a couple of half-baked Wii references.
Yeah, and that also, just to keep talking about the broader subject of new versus old, to me that's another example of where The Simpsons has started to go wrong. It seems that from what I've seen up to season 20 and this as well, the B plot purely exists to add about 5 minutes of gags away from the main story.
For real.
And they don't build up a proper story there or anything like that, And there were some of those gags, like, what's his name? The dude who, not Grandpa, the other guy in the old folks' home who was playing.
Jasper, the guy with the beard.
No, the guy who's
Jewish
like,
guy.
Old Jewish guy. It's literally old Jewish guy.
so he doesn't actually have a name.
I think he might. It might be one of those comic book guy things where they say it once to,
Yeah, like any episode with him in it will always make me laugh. So it was good to see him in there. But they do something with the B plot or just don't have a B plot.
Yeah, because you've got enough pieces from the A plot to make that the main thing.
Yeah, exactly.
The old Jewish man, sometimes called crazy guy or crazy old man or old grey mare guy. Thank you, Simpsons.fandom.
Yeah, nice to have many names and none of them names.
Play count. Have you seen this episode before today?
I have not.
Niente.
I have seen it a couple of times before. I generally like season 21, so I feel like I could sort of watch this in a playthrough. And recently, where were we? Where we were out in the city and we got a hotel room that night. And oh no, that was down in Adelaide.
I was going to say, what is it with one of the Pods in the Kia Springfield. Like and subscribe, guys.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, you passed out and I was like way too drunk, and all that was on the fucking TV was either New Simpsons or New Family Guy.
Well, there's an easy option.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still sticking with New Family Guy.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I think for me, it's like, I just got to go along for the ride now. 18 seasons, I just like, it's almost like a bad relationship, man. I
Just got to ride it to the end.
got to ride it to the end.
You know, that's
So-
me and Simpsons as well, and I think that's why I started a podcast, to justify the relationship. Wackiness. Was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons?
I mean, they dig up an entire dinosaur skeleton in the background of their house. Like, I think it's all montage wacky, but the dinosaur one really stuck out to me because it's like, wait, so Homer's buying things for his family but hiding how they're getting them. Did they want a dinosaur skeleton? And then how did you bury it? I mean, I like the joke that at the end, Santa's little helper was just exhausted.
Yeah, that was a good side gag.
But it's just, I'll just sit there going, that's funny. Wait, what the fuck is going on?
I actually kind of liked this little montage as well with Homer hiding the stuff. You know,
Yeah.
Marge going through the car wash and then it car filled to the brim with
That was
shit.
funny. That made me chuckle. I like that gag.
Yeah, Lisa finding the Philharmonic tickets.
Yeah.
and there was one that we all laughed at. Oh yeah, Marge finding the necklace in Maggie's
That's
diaper.
right. That was really good.
It's just, I'm glad the pearls were still white.
Yep. The caveman gag, though, God, that was awful.
It
Talking
went
about
on.
dragging out, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the very end, it's got a decent part where Bart's like, do I get extra credit for a breakdancing caveman? And Christmas Crawford's like, of course you do. Line, good. Don't show me the visual.
Yeah.
Just-
That's it. They should have cut it off there.
We're actually on a weird roll lately with Simpsons doing trendy dances of the time. Like, in the episode we
Yeah.
did with the Firestarters podcast, we saw the Marge crumping
Yep.
thing, and then a few episodes before that, Homer and Bart were flossing out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Oh. You think
Pretty
that's
soon
how-
they'll do so Charleston.
That's in the classic era.
this is how The Simpsons stays relevant now, just through dance moves?
Pretty
Yep.
much.
Hey kid, we're dabbing. Woo! They have Coldplay perform for just Bart and Homer.
Oh, our one guest star for the episode, Chris Martin, played himself.
Yeah. Also, I do like this joke of just they start a song and Bart's like, "How do I have to pee?"
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, and then Chris Martin, not knowing what else to do, just sort of does some crowd work.
Yeah.
So, where are you from, Homer?
From here. Oh. And then I don't like the follow-up gag of Homer going, can you use someone like me in the band? Sure, you can play the tambourine. I said someone like me. I thought,
Yeah. Well, that was actually another thing I noticed in the episode. A few things did pop up where it felt like they didn't even fit other ideas they had for all the wacky stuff that Homer was doing with his money. And so that like things just ended. I was thinking, this is a fairly basic plot line.
Yeah.
How did you come up with so many ideas and not be able to whittle it down? Like,
Yeah. And yeah, they've got a real strange idea of how far $1 million can go.
Yeah.
Well, 683,000 or whatever it was after tax.
Oh, did you guys
yeah.
notice as well when they had that Uncle Sam character say, this money will be going to a study to see what we should do with the money?
Yep.
It was just so out of sync. Like,
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it's like they did some ADR on that one.
Or it could have
Probably.
been the way we watched this episode today. You said it was rather historic for the podcast.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, this is the first time we've watched a HD era episode legally. This is the first time we've watched a HD era episode on Disney Plus.
Better.
And that might be where the sync issues came from, because Disney Plus has had a really unbelievably bad rollout the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's been sync issues with certain TVs and things like that. So,
No, actually, that's a very good point. But I will say, you know, it did, for the most part, yeah, it looked clean and crisp. And, you know, the way we've been watching it before is less than ideal. And, you know, sometimes we've had to go, well, it might just be the way we acquired these episodes that
Totally legally.
we got it from Truck.
Yeah. Truck.
Yeah, the wackiness of this episode. Yeah, during Homer's spending spree as well with Bart, it's sort of like timely references as well. The whole 0G gag. What do we think of this thing?
I mean, it's a thing.
Yeah.
The vomit comet.
Yeah.
Up barfing away, I think it was called. Yeah, up chucking away.
Yeah.
Still good.
it just reminded me of when, because I think Matt Groening actually went and did that at one point.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he was like one of the first people to do it, and it became a thing because he's so goddamn loaded. You know, you can go out and do this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it did actually remind me that Matt Groening went up and did that one time,
Oh, interesting.
and made me also want to be wealthy enough to do it because it does look kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it costs because I know for the release of Mass Effect Andromeda, they got a bunch of journalists to come around, give them a promo event, and one of the promo things they did was go on a vomit comet.
Wow. Wow.
Just a quick Google said $5,400, and that's in America. So, yeah, 10,
I mean, it's
10 grand-ish.
expensive, but it's not,
it's come
bullshit.
down. Well, I think when Matt Groening did it, was something like $40,000 to go up because there weren't many companies doing it.
I still remember there was a Penn and Teller episode where Penn just started taking off his clothes so he could do it naked.
He would.
Yeah.
Nude in space, sort of.
I won't stray too far from The Simpsons, though, but one fun fact, that was how they filmed the zero-G scenes in Apollo 13.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was in one of those.
Wow, that, back in the mid-90s,
Yeah.
that
It would have been pricey.
Really expensive.
So yeah, there's definitely more wackiness to go over, but the other pillar of Simpsons that we like to look at is the heart. Did you guys feel the bumps?
Not entirely. Like,
No.
there's a little bit I thought we got a good bit of a joke out of where, to apologize to Marge, Homer's made like this field of her face that says love of her life, and he says, and that'll bloom every year to remind me how much I care about you. Like, that's a nice sentiment. And as they're flying away, there's a field of Homer just going, whew.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
That was a good gag to end on.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like him going, because I think the line was something like, to remind me that I've got the most forgiving wife possible. Am I off the hook?
Yeah.
You know, so that's a little bit shitty.
Well, what kind of bugged me is at the end of this, they start singing Potato Potato, which is what they were supposed to be doing for this speech that he missed. It's like, surely that song is a bad memory for Marge. Like, this is the memory of what he fucked up. You're not supposed to be endeared by it.
Yeah.
But all right, fine, whatever. I guess it's a public domain. I was about to say they paid for the song, but it's
They
clearly-
absolutely did not.
No. So it undermined its own heart, but not knowing what that heart was or how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was also another point where the episode was confused. It was like, are we making an episode of pure gags, or are we making an episode where it's a redemption story with Homer and Marge again or something? And it didn't land on any base because I don't think the episode knew what it wanted to be.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And especially Marge as well, sort of going, oh, screw the toast, sort of felt weird given how distraught she was at the wedding. You
Yeah.
know, when Marge cries, that has impact.
That
And
hurts.
Yeah.
and I did feel it in that moment. You know, Homer fucking let her down. And
On the other side, $1 million.
Yeah.
You're gonna get that bitch.
Well,
$1 million.
$643,000 after tax or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's like, there's no way he spent that. I don't know how much it costs to get Coldplay to do a solo show, but let's assume 200,000 at most.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's 100,000 more than you should be paying.
I actually don't know how much a big band like that would get paid to play an arena.
Yeah, neither do I. But Chris Martin, hit us up. Let us know how much it costs.
Yeah, that'd be
And we will not pay that. But if you want to be on the show, no thanks.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. Cheers, but no.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty cut and dry with the heart. But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
I think it was just too disjointed for me to really feel like it. I mean, Homer hiding something from Marge is, a staple. But at the same time, it's like, it is a lot of money, and the amount you could do with it, it might be worth this. I mean, I kind of like the idea of the conflict where, if he tells her, then she's going to get mad, but then he can't use the money properly, but then he could just pay for everything in cash and not, I don't know. It's, again, it's too disjointed for me.
Weirdly, though, even though Bart was part of the main plot line and became the antagonist, he was there to ruin Homer and everything, he was still weirdly underutilized. I felt like he barely popped up in the episode, even though he was part of the plot line. For the first half, he just said about 2 words. So that was an odd one. I mean, overall, it just sort of, it didn't gain any momentum because it was, like I said, trying to do too much at the same time, and then everything just had to stop and end. So it didn't feel like an episode of The Simpsons for me in that respect. But a lot of the gags did. There were some bits that felt like an older classic when the writers were all at their peak and they had a great team in there. They had Conan O'Brien. There was a few jokes there that landed, so it was good. But yeah, for the most part, not really. No.
Yeah, I agree that the show didn't really feel like The Simpsons, but I don't actually have a problem with any of the character integrity, to be honest. I honestly feel like all the characters were behaving like themselves.
That's true, yeah.
Especially Ricardo Bomber.
I hope he comes back. I want to know his arc.
Hello, I'm now living with you, The Simpsons. My name is Ricardo.
Put a sock in it, Ricardo.
Okay, you'll never see from me again.
But yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I wasn't outright pissed off at the end of it, which I have been with some episodes.
But
Yeah.
again, I feel like there's nothing more to pull from this.
No.
I'm going to say hangover test, yeah.
Yeah, look, if it was on, maybe.
Yeah.
Like if I was channel flicking on and it kept popped up on channel, whoever owns it now and broadcast it, 7 now has it.
Isn't that a weird thing
It's
to
odd.
say?
Yeah, it's not even on the main channel too. It's on 7 Mate. It's like a B channel show now.
But, I might watch it again as well. And, episodes that we at least watch again, maybe, we like to talk about the playlist. What playlist would this go in? What other Simpsons episodes remind you kind of this one? Share thematical elements. What Simpsons pairs well with this is...
Hot air balloons, I guess. I feel like they've shown up before.
Really?
Ah.
I loved the, all right, surprise. Well, I did get a clue from the balloon safety video.
I did like that.
Very good gag.
Maybe the one where, just purely because it involves a lot of money, when Bart ruins Christmas and they wind up with all the money and then go and buy the new car and everything like that, possibly. But
It's actually interesting you say that because I've got like a money playlist sort of in mind for today's episodes.
Okay.
A little clue for... Oh, wait, that's kind of spoiled by the episode title, which lists what episodes we're doing. But anyway, it'll be a surprise for us.
I'm going to say Dog of Death because that also has the lottery.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, Lotto episodes, of course. Oh, Fortune Cookie playlist as well.
Oh, yes, yeah. Actually, that...
Cookie told me so. Yeah, that's some good playlists. BT, what would you change about this episode to improve it?
Man, just tighter focus and just expand upon your idea because what's there is interesting. It's just stacking on instead of tying anything together or linking things back to previous events. It's a tower instead of a sphere. That's not a great metaphor, me. And the B plot as well has the same problem. It's just and then rather than a cause and effect kind of thing. Yeah, so just refocus and reassemble this one because there's an episode here and I could use 90 more jokes, but whatever.
How about you, Peter? What would you like to change?
I'd like 92 more jokes. I'm like that bastard on The Price is Right. It's $1 lower.
Who was closest without going over?
We were looking for 94 jokes. Peter, you come on down. Yes.
I will say that is one of my few absolute favorite Family Guy jokes of, what was the last bid? $130,000, thanks. Fuck you.
I would honestly have just cut the B plot and just had the A plot. Lisa did not need to be removed from the family story because everyone else is dealing with the money that Homer's won in one way or another, and it could have been a whole family story that she was involved in too.
Son of a bitch! Sorry.
What? You sound serious.
No, it just smacked me in the head, because they're
You should have dodged it.
Yeah, I should have. Because Lisa's whole thing is like the nurses are, we don't get paid enough to deal with this bullshit, and Homer has an abundance of money.
You're right.
It's right fucking there.
Yeah.
And it just hit me. So
actually, though, talking about episodes that would pair well with too, other nursing home ones now, not even pair well with, just make me want to watch. When Grandpa gets all of his girlfriend's money and they revamp the nursing home, when she
$1 Million
passes away.
Baby, I believe.
Right.
Or is that? No, that couldn't be because $1 Million Baby wasn't out yet.
Oh, that's true.
I forget what the name of that title is.
Yeah, that's the other weird thing of Simpsons playlist of episodes that are using the same reference for their title. Which one was $1 Million Baby, though? I have a feeling it was a bad one.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, it's where Grandpa's a bullfighter.
What?
Right, of course.
I haven't seen that one.
How
what
in
is
the
it?
fuck can we forget that?
Springfield are getting a football team, and it's going to be the Springfield Meltdowns.
Okay.
Lenny and Carl have a great line that I love. It's like, I've got melt mania. And then Lenny's like, I've got Down syndrome. And like all the stuff with them getting a football team is great, but then Grandpa ruins it and then reinvents himself as a bullfighter after a suicide attempt.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Again, these convoluted plots that are so fun to explain. Yeah, look, I don't have anything to add to the change question. That's fucking, it's so obvious. It's ridiculous. Because, I think you can cut down on sort of the montagey jokes and, just reiterating what I said, make Barney the antagonist. It doesn't really serve a function to have then introduce Bart, then introduce Moe, then... Yeah, that's weird. All right, we're here. BT, do you have any other notes?
I got a bunch. Bart at the beginning says, who says potato? It's like songwriters who are stuck.
That was good.
Loved that
made
line.
That was like the first joke. I'm like, okay, episode, you got me interested. What do you got?
Especially because when they do the reprise of the song at the end, and like it reminded me, there's a line in that song that's, I'll order oysters and you can have the oysters. It's, who the fuck says oysters?
I don't know. Someone with a weird dialect in America.
I just say, wait, you've never had a big plate of oysters on a hot summer day? Oh man, they're the
Hey, I'm eating oysters here.
Yeah,
they're the blurst.
No, the only time in my life that I've enjoyed oysters, I mean, besides Kilpatrick, is when we went to New Orleans and the Acme Oyster Factory. And
that does sound good.
That was so delicious and creamy.
Yeah, that shit was dope. When they're doing the wedding and the Reverend Lovejoy's like, and now they'll read their own vows, which they wrote, because apparently mine weren't good enough. Show me how it's done, Dave.
Oh, yeah, and you could do a wedding playlist because, Lovejoy as well officiates all of them.
Yeah. And I feel like there's this meme that a little bit of, Forget Lou, someone going that fast has no time for a ticket.
Yeah.
That was a joke I think we all really laughed.
And I'd actually seen that one before because I think BuzzFeed did a roundup of like 20 late season Simpsons gags that show the show can still be sharp.
Yeah.
And that was one of them. And it was just like, that is a damn good line.
Yeah, we thought of the idea way too late of good jokes from bad episodes, but by then I think we're already like 50 episodes in. It's like, nope,
Yeah.
not going back.
No, see, that's the thing as well, because there are a bunch of BuzzFeed-esque articles circulating at the moment because of The Simpsons being on Disney+. You know, here are the top episodes you need to check out now that it's on streaming. And here are the top new episodes. I'm like, oh, man, if I was working towards this, I could contribute, but I'm just going to say, no, listen to the podcast.
No, my problem is any BuzzFeed article is like, here are the worst Simpsons episodes ever, and like their worst is one of our like failures, but not like a hard, everyone hate it failure. I'm like, you fucking fools! You have no idea.
Yeah, they're not in the territory of like Bart and Lisa and Maggie go through early puberty because they drank hormone-laden milk.
They're not Bart getting his art teacher pregnant with voodoo. You know, they're all just like, in this one, Bart finds an exact clone of him. They switch places. Bad. It's like, you don't even know. Man, you've not seen the things I've seen. A joke I kind of liked was when Homer's heart rate is going up because he's, worried about telling Marge, and then he tries to calm it down. Yeah. And I like the idea of the joke, but it should have just been flatline, and he's like, too calm, and then wakes it up. But instead, he's got this out-of-body experience thing, and it dragged on for too long.
Again, like you're saying, Peter, it's just they had the joke, but there was a smarter, quicker, snappier way to write it.
Yeah. Homer's trying to think of things to do with the money, and he's all like, I can get Hitler's baseball, or a mirror that tells me what to do. And then he images the mirror, and the mirror's like, you should buy Hitler's baseball.
That was the only gag from the episode that's still making me laugh. That was so fucking funny. Because again, it was quick. It was sharp. He just came in and went, I think you should get Hitler's baseball, and then disappeared.
It was so unexpected as well. And it was weird because like I was already suspicious of it because it was the second thought bubble gag of this episode, and the other one was just like Lenny's thought bubble cloud raining on Marge, and then again dragged on so long. But the magic mirror, I liked it.
A bit that was like, wait, what the fuck just happened is when Homer reaches in to get the money and then somehow dislocates his arm.
Yeah,
and
that was a bit odd.
That's when Bart finds him. It's like, okay, but this isn't a plot point. Couldn't he have just taken the money out and Bart saw it? Why did he have to dislocate his arm? And it was so weird.
And then, do another reference to him doing the keyboard line from the Emerson, Lake and Palmer song, and it's just like, that was also a good joke that dragged out too long and then turned into his delirium that was dragging out too long.
Yeah, weird.
But also, musical moment from this episode, Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yeah, I've been meaning to check them out more. And my final note is the bit where, Lisa's like, can't you let the old people have some fun? And like, they should have had fun before they got here. Yeah. That was a decent line. Despite the fact that a lot of those notes were positive, I still maintain mixed feelings on this episode.
How about you, Peter? Any other notes?
Pretty much covered everything I was going to cover. The mirror joke was my favorite one. No, that's fine. But I do have in capital letters here, what's this episode about? So I guess,
exactly.
It just took convoluted, and I just felt like I get the wedding part was an important part of the story to show what was happening, and like you said, Marge getting upset was quite a good, impactful moment. When it turned out that the money was the actual story of the episode, I'm like, why did it take 5 minutes when you've only got 22 minutes to get to that point?
Yeah.
It just seemed like a bunch of rambling gags, and then it finally kicked in. I'm like, oh, okay, no, I know what it's about. However, and I feel bad for forgetting his name, but no, I'm totally on board with the new character after thinking about it over this time we've been recording this. What was his name again?
Ricardo Bomba.
Ricardo Bomba. I want him back. I want him to have his own spin-off where he just drives around and muses about his new life in Springfield.
With his catchphrase, soon you will be mine, I think it was.
Yes. But again, I'm thinking about better ways to do that. Why not have Homer sitting in Moe's all depressed, Moe's all like, Homer, why the long face? Like, I've won something great, but I can't tell anyone about it. And then it cuts to Ricardo, what's his face, who's sitting there going, oh, I also recently won a contest, and now I'm in Springfield, wink to camera, have a little title card, thanks for creating this character, blah, blah, blah. Because then we would know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And that was the problem with his character too, and you do see this a lot in newer Simpsons too, is that they try and lean into writing that's so bad it's good. But they don't commit to making it that bad, and it just winds up being shit that bit,
It was just completely bewildering. And if we hadn't done this podcast, I would have just walked away going, so they just wanted to murder someone? I'm confused.
I thought it was like a celebrity of the time that I'd completely missed, and that's why I got on Wikipedia thinking, maybe they got a guest spot with this dude as well, and I'm like, nope.
No, and it's also weird, like, when they try and incorporate real-world competitions into the episode.
Yeah.
Like when they did the...
Stupid Ned, no.
Yeah, are we going to keep keep Ned and Ed together, vote now, internet ending.
I remember that.
Yeah, such a cop-out.
And I don't go to The Simpsons for realism by any means, but Homer fell a long
He
fucking
did.
way when
Yeah.
he drove off the cliff. He just kept going.
Only have a broken arm after all of
Yeah.
that.
Homer is a god.
And they fucking extended that fall just so they could bring in Old Mate as the new character. And also, I'm not opposed to violence in media by any means, but weirdly violent when Mr. Burns was playing the FPS game on the thing, like when he's shooting the Nazis and their heads just like blew up and eyeballs went everywhere. I'm like, oh yeah, good, yeah, killing Nazis, excellent, obviously. But wow, that gore came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was a little bit left of field.
And he's like, oh, I'm shooting at the Nazis?
Yeah,
that's
that's
not how
right.
I remember it.
Waka waka.
Yeah, I think that was World War Wilhelm, that game. All right, time for my final notes.
Now it's time for his final notes. Elliot's final notes.
Another joke that went on too long is Homer encouraging everyone to do the train sound effects.
Yeah.
Again, I liked it, and then it went on.
And I'm wondering, like, because Community did a similar thing with them pretending they were at the carnival. Do you remember that?
I've never watched Community.
Really?
I know. It's on my to-watch list.
Yeah.
There's also a good one where Jeff pretends to be at the hospital and when he's
yeah.
actually shopping.
Yeah, and the woman with the clothes scanner is doing the beep.
Yeah.
Yeah, better other shows. We now know that the Quickie Mart is on Orchard Avenue. That's a weird little detail that Apu put in. When they were playing with the Funtendo Z, they actually had Wii sound effects.
Yeah.
You could hear
did
the little blip when you select things. That was like, I played a lot of Wii, so I know these sound effects inside and out. And yeah, it was the startup music as well. But they didn't use the best music from the Wii, which was the Wii Shop channel.
Of course, yeah.
Do, 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 do.
I love the meme culture that's developed around that.
I saw a nice Spanish acoustic guitar cover of that on YouTube the other day.
Really?
It was very pleasant. Yeah, it was quite nice to kick back and listen to.
How charming.
Yeah.
One of my favorites was there was a drag queen who did like a lip sync version of that, and she was just going bop bop bop, bop. But she was like really exaggerated. Oh, it was so wonderful. And I loved how Mudge derived the panini press was part of a government stimulus package just from the note,
joke, yeah.
which was enjoy from the government. And my final note is Milhouse doesn't want Bart to be afraid of using the whip.
Yeah, creepy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, I must have just pushed that line to the back of my head because when I heard it, I didn't laugh. I didn't go, that was an awful line. I just went, huh?
I thought it was going to be like a Huckleberry Finn thing where he's all like, oh, you want to pull this rickshaw? It's like, no, that sounds lame. So, no, trust me, it's fun. Okay.
Yeah.
But instead, it's got whip me, Bart. No.
Make me your mill horse.
The M in BDSM stands for Millhouse. It's time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using our 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode was just, you give it participant. But for the positive rankings, we got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, the episodes which The Simpsons could not exist without, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. Look, despite all the criticisms and stuff, I still think this episode was fundamentally okay. So I am going to give it a bronze. I do feel like I'm being generous because it definitely has its participant moments. It's definitely not a failure, but yeah, that's just where I'm landing with it. PT.
I'm glad you went bronze because I was almost there. Like a little bit more cohesiveness in the narrative, a few more jokes I could have got there. But as it stands, this is just, it's whatever. It's a participant.
All right, and Peter.
Participant for me as well. There were some good gags in there that made me chuckle. I'm still laughing at the mirror saying, go buy Hitler's baseball. I think you should buy Hitler's baseball. But yeah, with it being so incoherent and having so unnecessary ideas that you, like you said, kept stacking on top of each other only to lead to a conclusion that basically ended, which was quite unsatisfying. I don't think I'd really revisit it intentionally. So, and seeing what, after we've talked about it, knowing what it could have been and how easy it would have been to do that. But I still want to see the return of old mate in his car. I keep forgetting his name, but I want him back
in my head,
now.
it's just Rico Suave.
Rico Suave, all right.
Ricardo Bomba. It's been 10 years since his debut. I can't believe this episode's already 10 years old.
It's wild,
and we
isn't it?
still haven't seen him again yet.
Anytime. He could
Well, Krusty died in one episode.
That's true.
Maybe it was Ricardo's insurance scam too.
Good point. It's just that no one cared enough about his story to chase him up on it.
He's He's like, I've been here the entire time.
I'm on a boat. I'm going to leave Springfield now. Anyway. All right. Well, averaging out, this will be a shiny participant. This will be the 4th episode from season 21 to be called a shiny participant.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be joining American History Excellent, where Mr. Burns goes to jail and does like a Green Mile thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I got to go past season 20 because some of this shit just sounds odd.
It's bonkers as fuck.
There's some wild shit. Like, also from season 21, Shining Participant was Judge Me Tender, where Mo becomes a judge on an American Idol show.
Oh, yeah.
And also The Bob Next Door, where it's basically a face-off parody with Sideshow Bob. And you see a lot of, like, horror, like Bob's face peeling off. And it's a wild ride. All right. Now, before we move on to our teens era, we must ask the question, is that reputation justified?
Is that reputation justified?
I really like all the sound bites on this podcast. I should just say, you're really good. And that you didn't pre-record them and play them. You just sing them every single time.
Yeah, duh.
I do have a pre-recorded version just in case he's not here.
Yeah, for those times when I'm not here.
Emily Vanderworth of the AV Club.
Why, what's a Vanderworth?
All the sound bites, yeah. She gave this episode a B.
Wow. Okay, generous.
Which on their ranking is probably about, like, bronze probably edging on silver. She says, this was a completely stupid plot. But to the show's credit, it commented on this when Homer told Marge he won the lottery and she said she'd rather have the money than the wedding reception performance he missed. Lisa Gets the Old People or We Stand in plot was one of those ones where the Simpsons writers had obviously noticed something in pop culture, but have yet to wholly grasp what it is or why it is important.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
Well, it's time for our Teens Era episode, and yeah, we're building on a theme of a bit of a $1 million playlist and also some musical moments. So with that in mind, we're watching New Kids on the Blecch.
Yeah.
Just from episode title alone, do you guys know which one this one is?
Even at Nia.
Backwards is Meryl Streep.
I learned something today.
We'll be back. And we are back, and we just watched our Teens Era episode. This was Season 12, Episode 14, New Kids on the Blecch. First released in February of '01, it was directed by Stephen Dean Moore, written by Tim Long, surprisingly enough. In this episode, this is the one where Bart, Milhouse, Ralph, and Nelson are in a boy band. And yeah, guys, what'd you think?
Word.
God damn it.
Word.
All right, fine. Word. If we're all going to do it. I grossly underestimated how sharp the writing is in this episode. It is a perfect example of when The Simpsons was moving away from its grounded past, but nailing outlandish plots. Like, they just commit to the bit and they stick with it. They don't try and justify it in the context of The Simpsons. Like, their world or anything, it throws up so many questions that it doesn't waste time answering. Like, oh, cool, Bart's not in school because he's off touring the world now. What happened to all the money he would have got from being in this band that was super popular? How did they get so famous overnight?
Yeah, I said this is the $1 million music playlist. I'm sort of playing a bit fast and loose with this one because we don't actually see him earn $1 million, but it's definitely implied if he's getting home massages.
Yeah. If they got enough success to be on the cover of Mad, then they're pretty big.
I also love the idea that Mad Magazine was once so profitable they could have their own building with
Not just
Alfred
a
E.
building,
Newman on top.
a skyscraper in New York. An interesting connection as well. I don't know if you're familiar with the podcast Everything's Coming Up Simpsons, but one of the co-hosts, Ali Gertz, would actually go on to be one of the head, or at least a main contributing writer in Mad's final days of being a print publication, which was only like this or last year.
It was earlier this year, yeah.
Is that what? Yeah. Just an amazing bit of connective tissue with this in the episode.
Word.
And again, with the trivia, a bit of trivia on that. Justin Timberlake in the recording he had trouble delivering this line. He was just like, this is just something I wouldn't say. So the editors had fun with it and reinserted the single take over and over again. It's the same soundbite you hear it every time. It's like the whole meep thing. No, they just doubled it up on track.
And that is exactly what I was talking about, how they lean into how crazy and outlandish and silly this episode is. Yeah. He says it 3 times in about a minute, and they use the same shot that they animated as well. And they just keep using that footage over and over again. Yeah. Word. It's just so good.
Yeah. And yeah, our guest stars for the episode: Justin Timberlake, Lance Bass, Chris Kirkpatrick, JC Chazes, and Joey Fatone, who just amuses me every time that not only is he the fat one of NSYNC, but his name, Joey Fatone, is spelt fat one. You can't write that.
No.
It does sound like he should be a mobster that's also fat.
Yeah,
Joey Fatone sleeps with the fishes.
Yeah. But no, I mean, what do we think of their performance?
Good.
Yeah.
I think they really nailed it. Like, when the show was nailing celebrity cameos, they weren't just going, oh my God, it's, who did we bring up before? Julian Assange or something. You know, they put them into the episode and they were willing to take the piss out of themselves hard.
I think there was a bit of that, especially because it sounded like they used the same soundbite with Milhouse as well. It's NSYNC! Quiet Milhouse, you know? But yeah, it was self-referential at the same time, so it didn't, feel as egregious as an Assange or a Musk or a, third example. Comedy's in threes, damn it. Not this time. All right, let's hook into the questionnaire. BT, for better or worse, what's a moment from this episode that stands out to you?
Man, I'm going to say the very ending. It's an episode that's comprised of little bits I like, but in terms of an overall big moment, not too many, but I think what I did really like was them forming this plan of how to get LT Smash back on side, and Bart's like, guys, we only have a few minutes, so shh. It just happens while they're debating. It's like, oh, crap.
And it is in this moment where they're spending like a minute going, a perfect song will help diffuse this situation. All right, let's formulate the plan, and then, nope, undercut it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I love about that bit.
How about you, Peter? What's a moment from this episode stands out to you for better or worse?
I love that they get the B plot out of the way in the first 5 minutes, and you can see the difference that makes compared to the one we watched earlier. I can't remember, the $1 Million Maybe, where they try and integrate the B plot into the main story. It's like, nope, they got that gag out of the way. They clearly had a few gags they didn't want to drop. They all go in the first 3 minutes with the marathon and what's his name? Losing to Hitler's Zeppelin, which is still...
Jesse Owens.
Jesse Owens, that's right.
We've got a weird Hitler playlist going on today as well.
We got a weird rickshaw playlist going on.
Yeah.
Hitler and rickshaws.
No Milhouse there. And even the marathon, it's not just the marathon, it's 10-second jokes that constantly follow each other. It's just bam, 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 and it's so funny. And then they go, okay, now and here's the main plot.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like they were letting the writers have fun for a few minutes.
Yeah, and it definitely feels like we hit the ground running on this is the tone of the episode where we have, Jesse Owens proved Hitler wrong by beating his Zeppelin at the Olympics.
Straight off the bat, it's like, this episode's going to be absurd and you're coming along for the ride. And then what's his name doing the long jump? It just keeps going over the stadium. And then Hitler's there as well.
Yeah.
And Homer getting the idea from that he's going to run a marathon. Getting in a brief argument with Marge is like, all right, fine, we'll swap jobs for a day and see who does it worse.
Marge just goes, what?
Yeah, even then he's got the great bit where Lisa's like, well, that's a great idea, Dad. Running adds the years to life. Stay out of this, Lisa.
Yeah.
And the one that made us all laugh out loud. I'm a regular Billy Crystal. You got that right.
Again, just a wonderful, sharp, quick writing that, this is very far removed from a grounded Simpsons episode with lots of heart, but god damn is it a rollicking good time. And I'm going to say what stands out to me is probably the highlight of the episode for me actually is Lisa's discovery of the whole join the Navy thing, which I refer to another podcast that's best days are behind them, the Cracked podcast. There was an episode with Alex Schmidt, Michael Swaim, and they had a guest, Dana Gould, who's a prominent Simpsons writer. And Michael Swaim called him up on the whole Ivanette Niage thing and goes, the T isn't a hard T in that. It would be Ivan Ethniage, wouldn't it? And then Dana Gould goes, oh, okay, yeah, I can explain that. See, it's what's known in the industry as bad writing.
To that, I did just quickly check with Danny. Now, Danny has 3 talents in this world: guitar, being handsome, and being able to say things backwards. So he says for ours, like and subscribe should be Birax Bussard Nak E Hal. We'll reverse that, see if it comes up as like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
But Lisa's whole interaction with LT Smash is like some of my favorite writing. Yeah. The full stop comes right off. Yeah, that's right.
Lieutenant LT Smash.
That's so good. And just the liminal, subliminal, and superliminal. What's that? Hey, you guys, join the Navy.
All right. Yeah, and then at the final, now that you know I can't let you leave. She's just not even running away, just wandering outside.
He goes, oh.
Like, the level of playing into the tropes, playing them well, and also subverting them is just so ridiculously cool in this single scene. And Again, although this isn't the most grounded episode or anything, like, these are the moments which, just bring me so much joy watching it. So play count. Have you seen this episode before today?
Many times. I do like it. It's one of my favorite wacky era Simpsons episodes, and also partially because I actually used to, surprise, nerdy dude, read, and high school outcast, read a lot of Mad Magazine in high school. So that gag I thought was really, really funny too. So like all the Mad Magazine integration was very entertaining.
Oh, yeah. Especially, how about everybody hates Raymond?
We stayed up all night, but it was worth it.
Yeah. How about you, BT?
Have I seen this episode before? I've seen it old school.
Again, Joey Fatone.
Word.
Wonderful performance. Yeah, I can't count the amount of times I've seen this, and especially I remember at the time because this was around the height of NSYNC. I mean, you said it after we watched it. It's sort of weird thinking of Justin Timberlake as a part of NSYNC because he's so far removed from that now.
Yeah. And when you're saying, this is the height of NSYNC, you can see that the writers understood what was like the boy band phenomenon. Unlike Funtendo Z.
Yeah, exactly.
But they didn't quite get what they were making fun of. They fully knew the world at the time. And it wasn't just NSYNC. There was, they came off the back of Backstreet Boys, and then there was, I can't even remember the names of half of them, but there were so many imitators that were being pumped
like
out.
98 Degrees and fucking,
Boys for Now.
That's right. Damn it, that took me a second and I realized. Damn
I
it.
want to slap him in his face.
Bob's Burgers, are right.
Yeah, I think it's also the difference between, the writers' kids were, of the NSYNC age at the time, whereas like Nintendo Wii, maybe the writers are grandparents at this stage, or at least their kids are grown up, and there's not maybe that immediate...
Or, they were at a bar and they saw something on the news about old people playing Wii, and they weren't paying attention, but they think they got the gist of it.
Yeah. No, it's like the fucking YouTube and flossing episode that we saw. It's just like, YouTube and flossing are a thing, and we'll muddle together an episode around it. But yeah, this one as well, the writers and sort of people working on the show during NSYNC's recording brought in their kids to meet them, and Tom Hanks, who was filming Castaway on a nearby soundstage, caught wind of this, and also brought his kids because he and his kids wanted to meet NSYNC.
I had no idea. That's amazing.
And Tom Hanks, who would, later appear in the Simpsons movie. And another interesting thing is Justin Timberlake actually recorded his part separately from the rest of NSYNC because...
He was too good for them.
Not yet. He had a family emergency, unfortunately.
Ah, okay.
You monster. Why would you joke about that before?
This is Justin Timberlake's relative.
Yeah.
Look, whatever.
Cry me a river.
Ah, damn it! Wake up, me. Remember Justin Timberlake's discography, for God's sake.
How dare you forget his discography?
Now, Beach, you don't need to put down your headphones and turn off the mic. Don't be so quick to walk away.
That's right. I'll come back. I'll bring sexy back.
Hey.
Thanks for the setup.
Wackiness. Was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons?
I mean, Jesse Owens outruns a bloom.
Someone doing a long jump does the equivalent of being hit for 6.
I will say I completely forgot about and died laughing at when Skinner's making an announcement and goes, and from now on, anything caught in your zipper will be handled by the school nurse and not by me. And you're like, wait, what? A lot of questions.
I love in this moment as well that here's the song your principal didn't want us to play. And it's like...
Yeah, she was, what are you talking about? I organized this.
Not only that, but it couldn't have been like the more sappiest ballad ever.
And just the follow-up with LT Smash being like, they're going to be huge, and you stood in their way.
No, I didn't.
I came here earlier, made orange drink.
Which I will say, he had the orange drink backstage and not available for the crowd where it would have been useful.
Yeah, it was for the band,
Yeah,
man.
dude.
It's in their rider.
Oh, right.
Hey, someone's never been in a green room, right? Get a load of this guy.
And he loves green. But I also love
Different green room.
Yeah. Skinner's just introduction of, are you adequately prepared to rock?
Yeah. And I think it's, worth mentioning as well, a lot of these songs fucking kicked ass, I gotta say.
They work. They stick in your head.
Yeah. Like, even Drop the Bomb is like, this is not one you really want to sing out in public without it if people are knowing the context.
Anymore, yeah.
But, like, that song kind of slams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any clues on who wrote them? Or?
No, from all I can discover, it was most likely Chris Ledesma, who does a lot of the music for The Simpsons, and probably Alf Clausen as well.
Oh, fantastic job. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Some great little whack in the beginning is the prize for the Springfield Marathon is a walking tour of Springfield. Just, damn, that joke kills.
I think, those sort of things contribute to this sort of first part, fuck you, not really feeling that.
Yeah, because it was fun. I mean, even then, they've got the backup of, well, here's a new competitor. He's full of pluck, moxie, and grit, all of which will be tested for later.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that they get that far with the award ceremony before anyone in Springfield cluing on that it's mine.
He was wearing a mustache.
I use up all of my English.
And my last note on whack, I think, is that was an ad for Stridex pads. Medicated, y'all. Just the overly teeny bopper announcer.
Oh, yeah, and when they didn't cut to the clip soon enough, and she's just down here.
Rock!
Yeah. LT smashes hippie fantasy.
Yeah. They're getting less frequent.
Yeah. Just, hippies on grasshoppers shooting flowers.
Peace, burn down the barbershops. I hate America.
Yeah, this is what conservatives think the left wing is.
Yeah, it needs to be, the picture of that, like, this is what liberals want.
Yeah. The future
Sorry, and just the switch from decommissioned to commissioned.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and operated with the gun. Yeah. Which has seemed to not be used for shooting, but for pushing buttons and flipping switches.
What do you use a gun for?
Well, I don't, because I live in Australia.
Yes.
This has been a public service now.
Yeah.
Where people wear hats on their feet and hamburgers eat people.
Way off the wacky scale, but wacky because they commit to the bit with sharp, fast writing and just so many, like, it's gag after gag after gag. Same notes as you, the only different one being is I love in this episode, Homer is only in it to drop one-liners.
Yeah.
Like, he contributes nothing. Like when he comes out and goes, Dad, LT's gone crazy. Yeah, that's the look. And he doesn't offer any help throughout the episode.
No, and like the misdirect that everybody had left the aircraft carrier, and as well that they're jumping down into knee-deep water as well.
That was great. Just a quick blink
just casually walking away.
And then just paddle. But then, Homer coming out of the toilet, which, to me, writing-wise indicates that he's going to help save the day.
Yeah.
And he's just like, zip, what songs did I miss? He's going crazy. I'm not helpful. Yeah, look, there's a ton of more wackiness to go through. You said it best. This is in the wacky seasons, but how about the heart?
So anyway, the wackiness, the aircraft carrier is called the USS Sea Spanker.
I mean, I think the only heart you can derive from this episode is in the lovey-dovey songs, not wanting to be a silent G.
Because you'd give it all up for that special girl.
Yep. I love in the ballad as well that it's like, I saw you at the spelling bee and I knew from first sight it was L-U-V.
Yeah.
You could still spell the word right and still have it rhyme.
Yeah.
Which,
but it's just funnier and the syllables fit.
Yeah.
Also, man, it was the early 2000s.
Yeah.
There was no time to spell things correctly back then.
It would be a few years until Hollaback Girl would tell us how to spell bananas. Until then, we were all on our own.
I also love that Ralph, for whatever reason, is the baritone singer of this.
So good.
I was going to say, can we get some James Earl Ralph on I'm a Pop Sensation?
Yeah, I think one of my notes was his voice is like butter in my ears.
A silent G. I'm a pop sensation. I want to twirl.
Yes.
Sorry, just to explain for you and any new listeners that might be listening to the podcast today, there's a reoccurring bit where me and Danny do impressions of James L. Jones, but doing Ralph lines.
Yeah. I cannot remember how that started.
Yeah, niche.
Definitely with Danny.
Niche, but I'm on board with this.
Yeah, no heart in this episode. It's not what it's going for, but ultimately, did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
Yeah, I mean, a much wackier one, but hell, it's fun.
Yeah, very much teens era Simpsons.
And very subvertive of the usual tropes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could also, and I may be digging into this a little too far, but I think you can hear how much fun everyone who was involved in that episode was having.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing that it might be different to with feeling like a Simpsons episode, it is probably one of the fastest episodes, if you know what I mean. Like, if you stop paying attention for a sec, you're going to miss a gag. It's just it's almost like Adult Swim comedy in a way where it's just like bam, 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 joke after joke. Kind of like, not as insane, but some of the speed reminded me of Harvey Birdman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like my pages of notes, it's just fucking so full.
Yeah.
Like, a lot happens in this episode, yet it doesn't feel like it's going all over the place either. It's got a through line. It works.
Yeah.
Like, And I think, yeah, part of that is not having this B story that's irrelevant that they're cutting to.
Yeah.
You know, it's following the one through line, even though they do have the first act, fuck you, doesn't really matter part of it. But at the same time, it functions in the way that it's setting up Bart to be the bad boy of the group.
And also some of the jokes in the marathon scene are just great, like comic book guy getting stuck in the in the manhole and Homer looking like grandpa because he's dehydrated.
Yeah. Although, I didn't really think much of the whole getting third wins and hitting a wall joke.
That was a misfire.
Yeah, but I loved his item check, you know. Sweatbands, nipple tape, check, and check. But yes or no, would you watch this one again?
100%.
Word.
And episodes we'd like to watch again. Oh yeah, I'd watch it.
Actually, can I re-record my reply there so I can just be in the I would watch it old school. Yeah. Give me a word.
Word. You maybe find my best word and then just cut it into every single part.
Actually, you know, you said you had some stuff pre-recorded. Can you put that on the soundboard? Word.
Justified word.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd watch it again. And episodes we like to watch again, we like to think about what playlist we put this in. What other Simpsons episodes would pair well with this one?
Hitler and rickshaws.
Yep. We've stumbled upon that playlist, apparently.
I'm trying to think of other ones that are just really out there silly to this degree.
The Navy.
Oh,
The
of
Navy.
course. Yeah. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, military service episodes and put
Yeah.
this with Sweet Seymour Skinner's badass song.
And I guess if it's military themed, what about when Sideshow Bob steals the atomic bomb
Yeah,
at the air
yeah.
show?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. God, were there any other boy bands ones or pop sensations?
No, there was when Homer went to rock and roll fantasy camp.
Oh, there's actually an interesting connection with this one because that episode and this episode are the only two ones where they've had this post-credits view of the guest actors doing
you're
right.
in the
Yeah,
recording
yeah.
studio.
Yeah, surprising.
it-
I suppose it's different when there's a group of voice actors.
But yeah, it's only happened 2 times, and it's sort of because these were like relatively close together episodes. It felt like this was a thing that they were doing.
Yeah.
Because especially both of them, you know, like you said, large groups, there was a lot of interaction. So
I suppose when you've only got one guest, you want to kind of keep the mystery going. Whereas if you've got a group, it's more fun to pan around and watch all these people doing these voices.
yeah,
And look, it was certainly also getting into the time when celebrity cameos were becoming a bit more frequent in
Yeah.
The Simpsons, but not gratuitous. So I get why they wanted to show it off.
no, absolutely. Well, especially the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp episode having
Yeah.
fucking Tom Petty, Lenny Kravitz, the Rolling Stones, fucking, and 7 others.
Yeah.
All right, BT, what would you like to change about this episode? Wait a minute, this full stop comes right off. Lieutenants. Calloway.
The time has come. No, that was.
What would you like to change about this episode?
Not really too much. It's maybe a bit heavily on the wacky. That's not strictly speaking a bad thing, but it's hard to maybe gauge how anyone feels about anything that's going on or cares or something. I don't know. Maybe a little bit of, Bart's success and what it means for him, but then we'd have to take something away, and I don't think I want to take anything away other than maybe some of the jokes at the beginning, but again, they weren't bad. So nothing is my long, short answer.
All right, Peter, what would you like to
I
change?
agree. It's certainly not a perfect episode because, like, for what it is, I think it's one of the best examples of a wacky episode. I do prefer the ones that do have a little bit of heart, and that's what makes those golden era Simpsons ones so special. But yeah, I couldn't think of anything I want to add or remove. Possibly Homer doing more stupid one-liners like he did throughout the entire episode, like Ivanette Niage. I love that wacky rhythm or whatever he says. Like,
Yeah, it's like Ram Lama Ding Dong. We'll give peace a chance.
yeah, that's right.
That is an amazing fucking line.
And that, again, just how quick and sharp this episode is. Like, I'll give a piece of chance.
It's funny because, this episode came out in February of 2001. This is, like half a year before 9/11 happens and before, the Iraq conflict really ramps up and all that.
That's an interesting point,
I
actually.
mean,
hadn't
obviously,
considered that.
Simpsons are part of the deep state, and they were planting that seed of recruitment early. Duh, Elliot. Jeez.
Stop, Otto. You're being brainwashed. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't change anything. And also, I do like rewatching it because it is such a product of its time. This
Yeah.
episode is a time capsule, like NSYNC and Mad Magazine in the same episode. That's just so early 2000s. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Mad had been around for, decades before that, but it was still very much at its height at that point.
No, absolutely. And it was still, print publication. Yeah, this is one of these things where I know this isn't a perfect episode by any means, but I'm definitely not qualified to rewrite this and improve it. Like,
We can't rewrite a Tim Long episode. This feels weird and yet so right.
that man has made me feel so confident in my ability so many times because of his awfulness. The writer of Lisa Goes Gaga.
Word.
fuck.
He wrote it. Old school.
And that's why it works. Yeah, we're here. Final note time. BT, have any?
Yeah, of course I do. I do like the back and forth of Bart jumps into the car. It's like, who are you? You'll learn that when the time is right. It says here you're LT Smash. The time is right. You're LT Smash.
Yeah.
I'm LT. God, I fucked that up entirely.
Yeah, well.
Hey, hate me. And finally, because I've already covered a bunch of them, is Mad Magazine Towers collapse. Is everyone okay? I actually feel better. That's exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
Got that
Weird.
kink out of my neck.
How about you, Peter? Any other notes?
Yeah, at the marathon at the start, the El Barto graffiti lives and is still outside the police station. I love that they've kept that running throughout the show for that long.
Oh, interesting.
And no one's tried to wipe it off. So.
Reinforcing that he is the bad boy.
Oh, and also that all the throwaway gags, like the hippie fantasy and things like that, I love that it's all integrated into the plot, even though they are just throwaway jokes. Like that hippie fantasy thing, you can tell someone just thought, this sounds like a dumb idea, let's put it in, but they don't just drop it in and be like, huh? Silly joke.
Yeah.
It's integrated into the plot.
And it's quickly built upon because it's like, was it the hippie dream again? They're becoming less frequent. So
Yeah, and then it's
just a
done,
quick
and they
joke.
move on to,
It's a quick joke, but then, he's seconds away from having a full breakdown and kidnapping everybody. So it's like, this kind of shows that he was maybe already a little unstable.
Yeah.
And he has a history of this, so...
Yeah, but other than it being an amazing product of its time and being a weird, possibly unintentional time capsule that was just largely created to capitalize on what was popular at the time, it's fun to go back to that era, especially because we all grew up through it. We lived through that.
But also, unlike the Nintendo Wii, it's like, it's not just commenting, oh, this was a thing. It built a thing around it.
Yeah.
I'm very fascinated by history as perceived by pop culture. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a really good example of that.
And yeah, in my final notes, I love the gift basket scene. And it's like, now we've got to send them a gift basket. But yeah, they were nice enough to include a crowd taser.
well, you need one.
And demonstrated again on Joey Fatone. Wow, he really cops it in this
He
episode.
really does. I should have added too, I really don't like what LT Smash does to the good name of Star Blitz Productions.
With 3 Zs. Get in that moment as well, like, but your pant legs, and he pulls the cord and they come out.
And the way the fan opens his shirt.
Yes. Oh, chest tattoo playlist. Oh no, it's the Navy. Oh, and with Lisa discovering the thing, after they do the Eva Netniage video, and, they establish that melody of the chorus. Da, 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 da. When she's like suspicious and she's going through the tape, there's a slight little musical sting there that's repeating that motif, but it's doing it in a more suspicious, uneasy form. Yeah, and it's just a really clever thing. Oh, yeah, product of its time as well, and with a Matrix.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone was doing the bullet time bit.
Hitting that boat would have hurt his back. He just bent right onto that thing when he went down. Oof.
I saved you from public spoofing. Just love that line. And I love the ending as well. The end sync's like, we've had a lot of fun today.
Yeah, the little public service announcement.
But the Navy are keeping us safe from Godzillas and pirates and jellyfish.
Those things will sting you. Old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, it's time to rank this thing. BT.
I'm going to go with a silver. It's one of those ones that doesn't have anything particularly wrong with it, but maybe it's just a little too wacky for me to have a great time with it and doesn't have any kind of character heart or anything to really ground it. So it's a hell of a lot of fun, but I don't feel like it's quite to the gold.
All right.
Yeah.
You, Peter?
I think it's a light gold for me. It's not like, one of the really good golden episodes, or certainly not Cubic Zirconium. But watching it today, I hadn't watched it in a while, and yeah, I really underappreciated how sharply written it is, and that they just go for broke and commit to how silly it is and don't try and do anything with it at all. It's just like, yep, this is where we're going on a ride, and viewers, you're coming with us, and if you don't want to, then jump off the ship now, but be careful, the water's only knee deep.
You'll be fine. You can walk in.
Yeah, look, I'm surprised in myself that I am going to give it a gold, and it's only just a hair above silver again, just because, like, being a teen super wacky episode, just it can't get that much higher, and it's surprising me that it's getting that high to begin with. But yeah, it's so fucking snappy, and it moves through the paces, and it's an absolute joy to watch. And The only inconsistency in the episode, I think, is, the Yvonne Ethniage thing.
Yeah.
And, who gives a shit? I was having fun. All right, well, averaging out, this will be a dull gold. And it'll be the 4th episode from Season 12 to be called a dull gold. It'll be joining Treehouse of Horror 11 with the Hansel and Gretel style story and Ghosted to Dad with Homer chokes on a bit of broccoli. And, Night of the Dolphin as well.
Yep.
Those are some good segments. And also, worst episode ever where comic book guy has a heart attack and then starts dating Agnes Skinner after it.
Oh, yeah. And that's the one with what's his name in it, the special effects guy.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Savini.
Tom Savini, yeah.
That's it. Also, Tennis the Menace, where the Simpsons get a tennis court, which we've been criticised for giving that too high of a ranking, but I think it's fine.
How can you criticize the right answer? That's weird.
All right, guys, you've earned it. We are going to our classic episode. And now, Peter, I gave you the choice with a little short list. What episode did you pick today?
Springfield, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Legalized Gambling.
Oh my God, you got the full title as
And
well.
Springfield is spelt with $signs. That is essential.
$ Pringfield.
And that's the episode we are doing. We will be back.
Old school.
Word. And we are back, and we just watched our final classic episode for the evening, and fuck my dog, what a classic it was. This was Season 5, Episode 10, Dollar Pringfield, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Legalized Gambling. First released in December of 1993, it was directed by Wes Archer, written by Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein. I got corrected on that recently. In this episode, it's the fucking casino one. Guys, what'd you think?
Oh, man. So good.
Fantastic. It's the perfect combination of classic grounded Simpsons with heart and just a little bit silly.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just so showy. There's so many visual gags in it. You're getting some celebrity cameos. Not actually voiced by Henry Kissinger, but that he was regarded as a celebrity cameo in The Simpsons back in the day.
Mustn't let them know I dropped it in the toilet.
Not I, the man who drafted the Paris Peace Accords.
I feel like even after that bit, they just stand there awkwardly and Bert's like, no, just walks away.
Just in an episode where there's such rapid fire shit that there is this joke that they can take a couple of seconds with and not feel it dragged out.
Well, and I think that's also because having watched these with a critical eye for the first time, I've seen things slightly differently. I think this is an early example of The Simpsons starting to become self-referential.
Yeah.
So I think that bit there, they're just like, well, this is a really odd joke in this episode. And so the writers are probably just like, have them pause and recognize how weird it is having Henry Kissinger. And then later on, they're like, does anyone have any objections? Probably Marge Simpson.
Marge. Peas and carrots, rhubarb, Marge. This was just a phenomenal delight to watch. And the animation of it is just so beautiful. Like, particular, animation techniques that you lose from doing digital, like, because when they're in the casino, bright lights and everything, they've got like this overexposed backlighting going through like the pokies and the big flashing lights and everything, which just some of these beautiful old world animation techniques that really give this episode a sense of contrast against a lot of Simpsons. But yeah, let's fucking dive into it. I'm so excited. BT, for better or worse, pick one moment that stands out to you.
Dear God. Well, first of all, I can comment on like a general thing in that a lot of the classic episodes we find are really front heavy with jokes and quotable moments and classic lines and all that sort of stuff. And then as you go, they kind of filter out and you get more of, the story and heart moments. This actually kind of does the opposite. I thought the opening was a little bit slower than I remembered it being, but then the second act gets even better, and then the final act is just wall-to-wall note-taking. I was taking notes so fast, I was like Homer at the end, because it's all just so rapid and everything.
Think before you write each word.
I know, pretty much.
You're gonna read a Federer.
Yeah, and just for a quick pat on the back to ourselves, is, this is the one that famously predicted a famous tiger mauling from Siegfried and Roy.
Oh, that hadn't happened by that point.
No,
I thought it had.
This was several years beforehand, which is also noted in Cracked After Hours, which stars a certain Michael Swaim, former guest on this podcast. So,
and we can say friend of the show.
I know. Yeah.
I love it when podcasts say that, and now we can too.
I know. So, friend of the show, Michael Swaim. You called this one. You also referenced this thing we referenced.
I would like to let everyone know I'm not actually a friend of the show or these people. I was pressured into doing this spot.
Shut up and hop in the spruce caboose. Spruce. God fucking damn it.
Spruce Moose, how could that not be embedded into your skull?
Can you please call this the spruce booth?
I like it. Now hop in.
Yeah, the sick ridden road thing, right. So, yeah, the mauling incident happened 10 years after this episode aired. And I did a bit of research into it.
Yeah.
So what actually happened was Roy had a stroke on stage.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And the tiger sort of got confused and reacted to it. And apparently in the mauling, what it was doing was like, he was just trying to pick Roy up and take him away somewhere because he could tell that, something had fucked up. But, because it was an unusual situation for the tiger, wasn't part of the routine, the tiger essentially, got confused and hurt him a lot more than he would. And then the aftermath, Roy absolutely understood the situation. It's like, make sure no harm comes to the tiger. And
What did happen to the tiger in the end, actually? Did they...
Yeah, it lived until the ripe old age of 17, I think I read, which I don't know for tiger years if that's good or bad. Probably not too bad for a show tiger.
Wait. You mean this isn't the Tiger podcast? What did I wander into?
The Tiger Index. But, I mean, it's funny because, of course the Simpsons writers were asked heavily about it after the incident happened. It's like, oh my God, you protected it. It's like, come on, it's like Vegas guys doing tiger shows. This was inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they say, but we know deep state.
Yeah.
Tiger maulings.
All right, trivia time over. How about you, Peter? What stands out to you from this episode, for better or worse?
Well, I have two things, if that's okay. One for gag reasons and one for weirdly... It's a weird, unique story. Just Mr. Burns laughing about the crippled Irishman. That gets me every single time. And it's an example of a prolonged gag that works. Like, it goes for ages. But the scene cuts to different locations. And he's not just laughing, he's physically like, he can't control himself.
Yeah, he's in various stages of laughter, like the kind of... where he's like trying to hold it down, but then it comes back again. It's funny.
And then when he's asleep, it's going...
I think because it's so relatable, I mean, not that I've ever regularly gone to church, but I imagine, like, if you think of something funny when...
But you've crippled so many Irishmen.
Well, I'm Irish. I'm allowed to.
Yeah, I know.
But as well, like, the whole thing of him laughing in bed, I mean, I have insomnia as well. There's been so many times that I'm trying to get to sleep, but I think it's something funny, and I'm just...
And Mr. Burns is just... He's probably my favorite side character, like, who's not part of the family, because he's just always so out of touch, but just a little endearing, you know? So, like, he's a bastard, but you can't hate him because there's something about him that you just kind of like...
And we've all had that thing we can't get out of our heads and keeps making us laugh.
Yeah.
And I do love the final button on that. What was I laughing about again? Oh, yes, that crippled Irishman.
So there was that. And also the bit with Krusty's stand-up, when he was talking about herpes and things like that.
Which was cut from syndication in this country.
And that's the thing. I didn't know that was actually a scene until I bought the DVDs about years later, whenever it was. I'm like, wait, what? This is a thing?
Yep.
And so, I'd seen that episode for years and actually had missed a giant chunk of it, not unlike all the McBain scenes as well that were cut from, because they were too violent to air at 6 p.m. So that was kind of fascinating. So now I actually laugh at that bit more because it's the only part of the episode I haven't seen a million times.
herpes.
Because it would just cut to... You're the worst audience I've ever seen, and it would just cut out the beginning of it. And I was like, that's funny. Krusty's mouthing off at the audience, and they're mouthing off at him. That was the gag.
Sense, so.
It's still a good gag. We'll just sit here silently for 90 minutes.
Fine by us.
Just the one dude speaking for the audience who are happy to
Krusty just sits down with a cigarette. And actually, correct me on this if I'm wrong, but with these earlier episodes too, they were a lot more gratuitous about having Krusty walking around smoking.
Oh, absolutely.
As the Simpsons got more family friendly, they cut back on that stuff.
It's an industry sort of standard thing where smoking was just a lot more liberal, and it's like Disney Plus, they've got all the old 1930s problematic Disney cartoons, and I stayed up way too late last night watching some super problematic shit.
But hey, to their credit, they didn't pretend they don't exist. They put them up there and said, they're product of its time.
They also didn't put Song of the South on there.
Well, no. That
although I was shocked to find that you can readily buy that in Australia.
You don't say.
It got a DVD and I think maybe even a Blu-ray release here because I have a friend who works at JB Hi-Fi and I was like, this one that never got released, and she goes, no, it did. I've seen it at work. I'm like, no, I don't believe you. I looked it up and there is a Region 4 copy. I was like, oh, that's
Makes me wonder how bad is it if they're not promoting it on Disney Plus, but it is still, in print effectively on DVD.
Well, it's a weird, because Splash Mountain is the Song of the South, and that is a staple in all Disney theme parks.
Yeah.
And
it's a great ride.
Well, it is, and I just wonder why after all this time they haven't repurposed it. Like, why they're heavily referencing this movie that
they're trying to bury effectively.
that, yeah, even with all that 1930s problematic shit where, yeah, there's fucking the blatant racism in some of the
with Jim
stuff.
Crow and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and there's Donald Duck going through Mexico, the Three Caballeros or whatever.
Big oof.
Major oof moments.
Also, in terms of when you're saying the Splash Mountain, I prefer Mount Splashmore.
Take me now.
Now. My favorite part of that is it's called, "Okay, kids, it's time to croon along with Krusty."
Yeah. But yeah, instilling the nagging thing that I would then do later in that episode. Can we go to Mount Splashmore? Can you take us to Mount Splashmore?
No.
But yeah, talking about Disney Plus as well, after the episode, we rewatched a little bit of this same one on Disney Plus, and to comment on the latest controversy with the aspect ratio and all that.
And the upscaling and everything.
Yeah, what'd you guys think of that?
Yeah, in this one, it's not too bad. It's more, the biggest problems really come from directing focus and little things that, how zoomed into a scene, how close to a character are you meant to be versus what's displayed there. It's not awful, but it is a little odd.
The only sight gag that was ruined for me was when he was crippling the Irishman, Mr. Burns. You still saw it happening, but it was cut just above his knees, so you didn't see the full pain he was in, getting his knees bent and pushed into the wall. But you can see that their attempt to upscale to HD has revealed all the flaws that come with it, the early days of animation. They were doing it all by hand and everything like that. And to me, at some points, it even looked like it was watching 3D without the glasses on.
Yeah,
so...
Yeah, I think you pointed it out as well. The black outlines sort of jar and separate and create this odd blur to it.
Yeah, and I think that's why they've added the shadow to all the characters to give it more of a high definition look, but also an attempt to cover up that a lot of those lines were broken because they were hand drawn. They're not consistent like you get in digital.
But no, it's because I'm a bit of a video game collector as well, and when I tried playing those old school consoles on new HD TVs, they'd look terrible. Not just aging, it's just high def and an N64. They weren't intended for each other.
Yeah.
And
Whereas, you have to go back to an old CRT television.
Those cancer tubes that really blurred over a lot of those horrible moments.
Yeah, that's the thing. Some of the, I've watched a few on Disney Plus just out of laziness because it's there after I finished watching my 1930s movies. And some of the, when you get to around season 9 or 10 or thereabouts, they've survived the move up to high definition a bit better because, the animation was getting a bit more, I don't know what goes on in the animation studio, but animation tech was moving ahead.
Yeah.
But, these first 5 seasons or so, I think probably would have been fully hand-drawn or involved very little tech or anything like that. And it shows. So I think, these ones are ones that you just can't watch in the high definition one because it becomes distracting, not just because it's not what we were used to growing up, but the transfer is so poor because of the source. It's not the source's fault.
No, they were intended for, the CRT TVs, 4.3 aspect ratio.
What did actually blow me away was, and I forgot about this, how good it looks on DVD. On an HD TV. When you're watching the standard def version upscaled on an HD TV, it looked awesome. Way better than an HD re-release.
Yeah, and props to the PlayStation for being an adequate DVD player that because, sometimes that upscaling doesn't exactly work if you don't have the right players and stuff. And I don't have the best TV either. And it still looks nice and sharp and it's got that little fuzz of it like the classic era.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what is the difference because, like you were saying, those Teens era episodes survived that a bit more because I think it was around season 13 that they made the transition to all digital animation. And up until then, they were still doing hand-drawn, but, with computer assistance, so it's still kind of looks a bit digital.
Yeah.
Whereas these ones, it's all hand-drawn, all animation cells. And
also, when you said props to the PlayStation, was that you gunning for sponsorship? Because we can really lean into that if you want to.
I hope so. Because I really want to get a PlayStation 5 at launch, and it's probably going to be $1,000 in Australia.
Oh,
yeah.
But that $1,000 can get you great Simpsons podcast coverage. That's the Simpsons Index on PlayStation 5.
Do PlayStation 5 exclusive podcasts.
And they're all like, it's great.
All right. Play count. Have you ever seen this episode before?
No, never, and I don't think I'll watch it again. So many times. It's one of my go-tos that if I just feel like watching The Simpsons, I can pop it on and always be entertained. It's got a little bit of everything that makes The Simpsons good, and also slightly moves into the first time they'll get a bit wackier too.
Absolutely.
And like Robert Goulet just whacking Milhouse in the face with the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry, kid.
And the noise it makes. You hear the thud on Milhouse's nose. And also, I'm drawing a blank. The bully.
Jimbo?
No, the
Nelson?
other one. Nelson, thank you. Yeah, real Simpsons fan, can't you tell? Losing his shit to Robert Goulet, just like cheering for him and going absolutely nuts.
Oh, that's a little bit of a thread I didn't think about.
Yeah.
He loves crooners.
Yeah.
Because they're Andy Williams.
Yeah.
We don't have to stop. Yes, we do.
Your manager says for you to shut up.
Vera said that?
Oh.
How about you, BT? Have you ever seen it?
Times I've seen this, so 18, 27, 35. Yeah, deal or bust. Sorry, joke I wanted to bring up because I do love he keeps hitting after he busts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially because after that moment that he's like, it's lifelong dream to become a blackjack dealer. And you're like, wait, blackjack, being a casino worker involves a heavy amount of math.
Yeah.
How would this work out? And they totally show it. Like, well, looks like my shift is over.
Uh-oh.
Oh, and in that scene as well is the first appearance of Rich Texan.
Oh, is that his first time?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And apparently, I didn't know this, his actual name is Richard O'Hara.
Yeah.
I thought it was Richard Texan because that's how it appeared in Simpsons Tapped Out, but whatever.
I think it was another example of like their name finally getting added post season 20 or something where they said, oh, it's always been there.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I couldn't put amount of times I've seen this. This is wonderful. And yeah, you're absolutely right. The ensemble cast in this, like, every member of the family gets something to do. I only just realized this.
Even Maggie gets to crawl away and have a bit of a dangerous adventure and then be brought back by Barney to illustrate how much Marge is no longer paying attention to her family.
Grandpa gets a dice in his slipper.
Oh, even the extended family.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in my shoe.
The way he limps away.
Yeah.
And I love that, like, watching these classic ones too, the way it was, I know that framing an animation is not the same as framing a live action shot, but just the way that these scenes were created, and that's a brilliant example of it. As he's limping away, the camera pans to the next gag as it then goes into the Siegfried and Roy, whatever their names are in the show, I can't remember.
Gunter and Ernst.
That's right. So much better than the savagery of the jungle, yeah?
Hey, Tiger, wake up. Oh.
Yeah, just like the way that this is basically shot, for want of a better word, is just Simpsons animation at its prime. It's
Absolutely.
like every single frame was thought out,
And speaking of all this, how about the wackiness of this episode? Was this a wacky episode of The Simpsons?
Wackish.
I mean, I know it was silly, but I dreamt the boogeyman was after me.
Holy fuck.
That whole sequence, dear God. As soon as it started, I'm like writing it all down. Like, slow down, slow down, slow down. Slow down.
And you were saying before we were recording, Pete, as well, Homer busting into Bart's room as well. Like, the amount of memes that have come out of
I love that this episode, what you just say it came out? It was
93.
That scene has had a revival on the internet and Simpsons culture, and it's just, it's just brilliant. And my favorite meme of those is the Smash Mouth one, where Homer kicks the door and it goes, somebody once told me.
You nail the window shut, I'll get the gun.
Yeah, so it's wacky. But like you said, it is very much broken up into 3 acts. And about halfway through the second act, where the wackiness is peaking, they then transition it into the heart really seamlessly and really brilliantly. And that really happens when the boogeyman sequence, and then Homer says, but you could have been around to stop me from doing something stupid. And then, which is such a brilliant line, but also really heartfelt.
I think tying into that whole self-referential thing as well, that like Homer overreacted, but then once Marge was there, he sort of came to his senses.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that's right. My other bit of wackiness was Homer's memory of the town hall meeting, where
yes, of course.
Apu has 3 heads and there's like a penguin there.
And Homer's fucking ripped.
And Marge has green hair or something. And,
her dress and hair color are flipped. And there's a woman whose neck is a spring, and there's an alligator dude.
Which sounds like a fun crew to hang out with, by the way. I want to go to wherever Homer's hanging out.
So I said to the president,
Get this. The funny thing about this scene as well is that there's a level of implied wackiness. This is the fantasy that we've departed to and we're watching as the audience. Homer's describing this to Marge. Yeah. So I was sitting there in the middle. You were up on the thing with your green hair and your blue dress.
Apu had 3 heads.
I love that Marge doesn't even stick around when Homer's done. She's just wandered off and won't even listen to him.
Yeah. But, I mean, there is so much more wackiness to go to. But, yeah, moving on to the heart, like, Marge's whole storyline here, I think, it is the grounding of the episode. And it's amazing because Marge doesn't really get her time in the spotlight in even the best of the classic era episodes. And it's sort of nice to give her an episode where she does have faults.
Yeah, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first episode where Marge lets down not just the family, but Lisa. And it's always been pushed that her and Lisa have this special bond because Homer, he tries, but he's not the best dad, and Marge really is the backbone of the family.
Yeah.
And she lets down her daughter, and not only does she let down her daughter, you see how that impacts Homer as well, which is really fascinating. It really shows the family dynamic and how it's all kind of teetering on this thing that's sort of being held together. And then when Marge fucks up, it just has this huge flow-on effect, except for Bart, who's off hiring Robert Goulet. But yeah, and like you can see Homer is sad for that too. And then what makes it interesting is this is an early example where Homer openly admits his faults. Like when he says, you know, if you had been around to stop me from doing something stupid, like he knows he's a moron. And when he cries, realizing that he's let down Lisa, but he's tried his best, like you just see the whole dynamic in the family shift for the first time. It's really fascinating.
No, those small little tears that Homer's having while
it's brutal,
Lisa's,
isn't it?
just pouring out. Like, and especially it lands extra hard because it's come after some pretty fucking amazing jokes. So, ow, move on to the machine. Ow. Starts working on the car.
Sticks the orange on her. And the way that orange rolls off her costume and that pans back to show how long it is. It doesn't fit her properly. It's created this perfect curve.
Yeah.
Perfect sight gag.
Or even, like, I think to support that and even to just be a joke as well. It's like, it's always something. First I have to drive your pregnant mother to the hospital to give birth to you. Now this.
Yeah.
And that doesn't shy away from showing that Homer is a selfish dick a lot of the time.
Yeah. This scene lands extra hard for me as well, and something that I didn't appreciate in my initial watches until, today, looking at it with a critical eye and all that. Marge has already promised that she won't spend as much time at the casino in this point. Yeah, she's clearly had a relapse.
Yeah.
And that is so important to sort of show the nature of addiction, yet not fucking hammering it home.
Yeah.
It's not having a scene of Marge like scratching her arms and like running off to the casino. She's just not
already
there.
Yeah.
And that was interesting about that too, is this actually became part of Simpsons lore. Marge's gambling addiction pops up every now and then.
Yeah.
Usually just for gags now. Like I've forgotten what episode it is, but they're at a IRS burger when the IRS takes over Krusty Burger. It's like, Marge, what were your losses on gambling in the past 6 years?
$700.
Yeah. Although she was cleaning up a little bit,
A little bit.
Won $60 last night.
Well, there's that great bit that lets the problem advance where Homer comes in and tries to stop her after eating cloves, Tom Collins mix, and a pie crust.
Oh, which like Tom Collins, like the drink is like this like lemony cocktail.
Yeah.
So
Is that what it is? I've never had one. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like a very lemony old world sort of cocktail.
Ah, yes. Well, Tom Collins sounds like a lemony old world sort of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, gin, lemon juice, sugar, and carbonated water. So like
That actually sounds pretty good.
yeah, but like I think about like, how you get that margarita mix or whatever and it just sounds tastes so artificial and shitty.
Yeah. Yep.
Like imagine that with clothes and a frozen pie crust.
Also raises the question, why would they have Tom Collins mix in the fridge at home? I thought they were a Duff family.
Yeah, good point.
It's one of those things you put it in the fridge for guests, you forget about it.
Yeah. Don't you think you've had enough gambling? No. All right, that's okay. We're illegally obligated to ask every 75 hours. Get her another drink. But yeah, ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you could take that last sequence, and that is just your primo Simpsons from... No, Lisa, the only monster here is the one who has enslaved your mother. I call him Gambler, and I'll pry him from your mother from his neon claws. Which is a great line, but then the whole rampage through the casino of, like, accidentally giving everyone more luck.
Just the shit that he does in that rant, like, can't talk now. Like, why does he hang up on
7. Lucky 7.
Just hangs up on some dude's conversation.
But then it lands with such a heart moment of when he runs up to Marge and gets the great joke of Yana funna wanna punna.
Yeah.
Think before you say each word, and then just you broke a promise to your child. Does that pan around between them?
Oh,
and it's like,
that shot is so
it's
good.
Good.
Yeah.
And then follows it up immediately with a great joke of, you made her cry, then I cried, then Maggie laughed. She's such a little trooper.
There's just the way that they can strike this balance between these ridiculously funny jokes and these genuine, heartfelt moments.
Which they do all in the span of maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
if
wild.
that. It's insane.
And in this moment as well, the background's really dark and the pokies are really bright and backlit, and it's almost like an isolated scene with those two. Like, just visually, it's got it going on.
This is the thing too that is partially so great about it. Like, you guys, have you been to Vegas before?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all
have you
shown
been?
as
No.
So it's shown as like glitz and glamour and the Rat Pack and everything like that. Casinos aren't nice places. They're not. They're not actually that pretty inside. They're all dank and depressing, and they're really dark.
All the pretty is outside to draw you in.
No, Vegas is...
I do enjoy it there, though, by the way. I like visiting Vegas. But
like, I really enjoyed, like, just being there and being able to go to all these shows, you know? Like, because I'm not really into gambling, like, especially pokies. I couldn't think of
I hate pokies.
something less mentally stimulating.
Yeah.
Especially as a video game fan, I find them insulting.
Yeah, the gameplay is terrible.
Yeah, the mechanics are all off. But yeah, as in terms of feeling like an episode of The Simpsons as well, like, to have so many members of the ensemble cast get their time in the spotlight, like, every member of the family has something to do in this, and then it's a great Mr. Burns episode, it's a great Quimby episode. Yeah, just ridiculous how many characters get their time.
Yeah, we've not even touched on Mr. Burns and his whole Howard Hughes.
That's true.
thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. Which is where I got freaking Spruce Caboose mixed up with Moose.
Oh, because his was the Spruce
Yeah.
Caboose, Howard Hughes, right. And I didn't get this whole thing until I saw The Aviator many years later. And the whole line of, and the jars of urine finally clicked when I saw
Oh, we'll keep those.
Leonardo DiCaprio filling up jars of... Was that a Scorsese movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
It's such a perfectly executed B-plot as well, because it ties into the main story brilliantly. And actually, again, when you're asking, does this feel like a Simpsons episode, it was when B-plots were integrated well.
Yeah.
You know, like we said earlier with New Kids on the Blecch, abandoning a B-plot was a approach that totally worked, you know, just to stick with one storyline. But to have I think there's probably even like a C-plot and a D-plot in this going on. There are so many different stories all intertwining with each other with the one consistent theme of the casino, which was also a physical place, you know, that's all sort of gathering on. But Mr. Burns' B-plot is just so out there and yet perfect in the context of the episode. Like, it just, you don't question it. You're just like, old man has lost the plot.
Well, I think that's sort of why it does work, is because, Mr. Burns, probably worked really hard to build his fortune with the nuclear plant or whatever, or maintain it. As it was shown in this episode, he was a rich kid. And he's just stumbled into having a business that's just pure profits, and it's almost like he's having a breakdown because of it, because he doesn't have to do anything. Yeah, and going full Howard Hughes, and like that it can reference a real world thing and strike that balance. And
I was going to say, that's something that Simpsons has always done. They've always thrown in little real world references. Like, I can't remember which episode it is. I think it's the one where Marge ends up working for the nuclear plant, and they go to a restaurant that's on a derailed train called the Spruce Caboose.
Interesting.
They're throwing in these bits of, American history. And in this one, like, that we open with like a grandpa watching a newsreel, which has
we haven't talked about the newsreel yet.
Well, this is what I'm talking about. In the front is actually surprisingly weak on this one. I don't want to say weak. It's more building a foundation. Anyway, but I've got a bunch of notes on the whole opening that we haven't hit on. But the very beginning is grandpa watching this newsreel, and it's people doing a nuclear test watching party, which was a thing.
Yeah,
and a family watching TV with the train approaching, and then run away from it in fear, which was a thing.
That's
These are all things out of history that actually happened. So,
and also they threw Amos in there for no reason.
Hello, everybody.
His voice is so good.
I get what you're saying, that it's sort of a weird opening for the episode, and I guess it's just trying to set up to where the economy of Springfield is at.
Yeah, exactly. I think it wanted to lay a foundation rather than being like the tip of a spear to really get you hooked straight away.
Yeah. And
Spears don't
you'd
hook.
think the streets were paved with gold.
They are.
I also love hearing Jasper before he got old and his voice was all raspy. They actually went to the effort of giving him a slightly cleaner voice, because he was a middle-aged man at that point, not an old man, whereas Abe just has sounded exactly the same his entire life. Even when he was a kid, living in the Statue of Liberty. I love America!
No, that's a good point, though. The voice cast is all on top form, and they sort of
so good.
And they have to bend their characters in this one. Like, Bart's got like a little bit more sort of streetwise and hustler sort of tone to his voice.
Yeah, it was all like, shut up, Lisa, I got to book a new act for tonight. That Liza Minnelli impersonator ended up being Liza Minnelli.
Then Homer opens the fridge and he just goes flying.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're obviously going to watch it again. Do I need to ask the question? We're watching it again. What playlist would we put this in?
We had hit casino things before.
Mr. Burns' casino gets demolished in that episode where they're making way for the boardwalk.
Isn't there an episode where they go to a Indian casino and someone has a vision? Or
That's actually the very Trump predicting episode. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, just fucking great Mr. Burns episodes.
Yeah, I like it when Mr. Burns becomes one of the central characters because he's and is it Hank Azaria that does Mr. Burns?
Harry Shearer.
Harry Shearer. He's so good.
Yeah.
He can nail sounding like someone who learned to speak in the 30s and still think that's how people communicate. Like,
Yeah,
What,
actually,
don't think I'm hip. I don't have enough vodeo dough.
I was trying to remember, actually, there was a line that he had in the HD era episode that we watched that I fucking forgot to mention.
Was it the self-powered experience approximator?
There we go. That's right, when he's playing the Nintendo. Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah, that's right.
Never seen him smile before. Homer eating weird shit.
Any recipes of Homer, so put it with this out-of-the-world space-age moon waffles.
Yep.
I think this is an episode too that might have possibly delivered a record number of quotable moments. We've got I'm Idaho.
Yeah. I'm Idaho.
See, I get that joke now. The whole Robert Goulet thing. You got a friend or whatever. I call him Gambler, Boogeyman or Boogeyman. There is
Boogeyman or Boogeyman in the house.
So many quotable lines from this where if you're sitting at like the pub with people around our age in our 30s, someone could just go, I don't want to alarm you, but there might be a boogeyman or boogeymen in the pub, and everyone will just like a certain bracket of people will just fall down laughing. You won't even need to contextualize it. Like this episode just has so many of those moments. It's brilliant.
Oh, yeah, this is a foundational benchmark of what a brilliant Simpsons could be.
Mm-hmm.
But BT, what would you change about it to improve it?
I would take a pen and throw it away because I am not touching this one.
How about you, Pete?
There are a couple of moments, especially towards the end, like where Homer and Marge are having the big confrontation and he's calling her out, where they have these heartfelt moments and then he jumps into a joke. And I do feel like it might have been pulled back a little bit for time or whatever, because occasionally they don't let the audience process those heavy emotional moments.
Sure.
Like when Marge goes, I admit it, I do have a problem. Maybe I need to see someone. And immediately Homer goes, nope, that's too expensive. Just admitting it is fine.
Yeah.
Like, give us a second to process these bits. And same when he goes into the gambler rant. Hilarious, but like he's just gone from crying over letting down his daughter when his family's starting to fall apart a little bit. The emotional impact could be given a little bit more breathing room, but that would also be in a world where they could go for a true half hour, not 22 minutes then with ads, so...
No, this episode, much like my note-taking on this, my lettering was a lot bigger than when I started because I was running out of room. I really had to cram in the notes at the end, and I think, that's exactly what this episode did. Now that you mention it, Beach, I would sort of tidy up that news on parade stuff. Even though there was some great things, it's sort of largely unnecessary. But the one joke that did not land at all for me was Grandpa doing everybody wants something for nothing. I'm old. Gimme, gimme, gimme. It's just
that was a bit of a lazy joke.
Yeah, people need social security. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein.
Wienersteiner.
Wienersteiner.
We talk about it.
The other guest star of this episode was retired boxer Jerry Cooney.
Oh, yeah. Who's easy to knock out, I guess.
Yeah, fucking Otto. I said bug off. Yeah, who's still alive, unlike Robert Goulet, who actually, passed away 12 years ago now. In 2007.
I want to believe that Henry Kissinger actually turned up for this episode and dropped his glasses into the toilet.
I like to think he has like a framed version of him Simpson-sized.
Oh, yeah. He's just replaced all the mirrors in his house with that.
Yeah. Looking good today.
I may have drafted the Paris Peace Accord, but I got to appear in The Simpsons. He was in Futurama as well. Remember that episode with the balls? Yeah.
Looking like that, he got himself into Jules St. John's bed. Enough said.
With breath as fresh as a summer ham.
We bounce 3 meters in the air, then 5 meters, then 3 meters. Yes, we tell a similar story on Earth. Fucking hell. All right, we're here. BT, any other notes?
Yep, got a few more. What I really like in this episode is both Bart and Lisa's storyline gets like a closing scene with Goulet actually performing in the treehouse and Lisa on stage with getting the award for students whose parents obviously gave them no help.
Yeah. which is such a genius way out of this episode because they're like, yeah, of course parents are going to help with their kids. It's like, we feel sorry for these two.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like the final episode with Lisa isn't Homer getting inspired to run to the casino. It's to actually finish this off and show what happens to her.
Yeah.
And I like that. They could have just cut it. But
also add, though, when he has that realization and bolts to the casino to confront Marge, just leaves the kids unattended at home. Who took Lisa to school that night for the thing?
Oh, there was a scene like when Homer's going home from work and it's after the scene where Maggie got nearly mauled by the tiger that, Marge is there without Maggie and Homer doesn't have Maggie either. And it's, where is she?
Grandpa. And my final note is I like, and I don't know how intentional this was, but I assume it has to have been, you get the Siegfried and Roy getting mauled by a tiger, and also in Bar's Casino, Milhouse gets mauled by a cat. Different size cat maulings.
Everyone claps when he gets mauled by the cats.
Still Springfield, it's a violent place.
How about you, Peter? Any other notes?
Gonna start with a slightly negative one. As funny as the episode is for jokes and one-liners and also quite emotionally hard-hitting, Homer is a goddamn prick at the end. The way he mercilessly mocks Marge, I'm like, dude, you had a moment of realization in this episode too, and now your response is just to be like, well, you have a gambling problem.
Fair, he's never been in the right before, and I don't think he knows how to handle it.
Yeah, maybe.
Finally.
Don't get me wrong, it also delivers that classic line. Do you remember when Homer... Oh, yeah, I forgot already. So, that is a bit shit. Like, I watched that and I'm like, that's not the best way to end the episode. I want to see sperms of endearment. And that is one of my favorite running gags at Springfield. Whenever they go past the Springfield Googleplex Theatre and they have like whatever's airing. Yeah. There's that famous bit, Yahoo Serious got so big at one point. He's in an episode with the Yahoo Serious Film Festival.
Yeah. I know that sentence makes no sense.
And also the fact that the casino worker who mocks Bart actually makes the effort to go to his backyard to see that he's set up a casino.
Yeah.
Well, that shut me up.
Yeah. And he accepts his faults and then moves on.
Yeah, weird moment of off-model squeaky voice teen as well. Hey, you over 21? Are you?
I'm not
authorized to answer
and
that.
he's weirdly confident in this episode as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you would be confident when you have two hired goons, but turn up at the kids' casino. Well, he showed me.
Goons. Hired goons.
Hired goons.
Other than that, just really one of the greatest episodes they ever did. It's just so sharp and on point, and the animation too is brilliant. And I will keep rambling until you stop me because I love this episode a bit. So please step in because I'm just going to keep going and going and going and going and going.
Well, I do need a couple more seconds to compile my file notes, but we want you to ramble about another topic. BT. Yep. The question.
So we like to ask our first-time guests, if you could have a sandwich named after you, what would be on that sandwich? And if that's too difficult, because it is a very hard question, simplify it down to, what's the best sandwich?
Well, because we've been talking about The Simpsons, one thing that I've always wanted to wonder what it would taste like, and I know what inspired it, but I want to try the goddamn ribwich.
Yeah.
Because I want to know what animal it's made of. It's smaller with many legs. I think I had an actual McRib once, and it was underwhelming, as most McDonald's food is, except when it's 2 in the morning and you just left the pub, then it's the best thing in the world.
You need it,
But maybe just something rib-related. I also thoroughly enjoy any sandwich with multiple cured meats. So ham, pastrami, 3 types of cheese, no pickles, keep that shit away from there. So would you like me to kind of name the sandwich? Is that what you're going for?
It will be named after you. So
the sandwich is the Peter.
Yeah.
Oh, it's called the Peter.
Yeah, it's Peter the Zaluzny.
But if someone's going to order the Zaluzny, what are they getting is the question.
Sounds like they're getting a bit of everything. I'm just really hungry now. So a rib sandwich of some kind, possibly with pastrami, maybe a bit of ham.
Yeah.
And just 3 kinds of cheese, because cheese is just...
You need something to break up that meatiness as well.
Actually, I know I said I don't like pickles, but I like pickled chilies. So maybe some pickled jalapenos on there. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Digging it, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Excuse me, I got to go make a sandwich.
Time for my final nuts first. Everybody's wearing Springfield galoshes.
I'm wearing galoshes.
They don't wear galoshes.
They wear mucklucks.
Sorry.
I'm just... No, look.
Very old bit.
There's been some points here I'm just like, I'm just going to roll with the punches and watch this kind of play out and hope that I don't get locked in this room.
Yeah. Next time we have Danny on the podcast, though, we got to see how much of that bit we can remember.
Well, wagering it's going to be a fair amount.
Yeah, we recited that like ad nauseum for a year. There's so many movie references in this episode as well. I had no idea, again, until many years later, that the whole Isosceles Triangle rant was from Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
Oh, it is too.
Yeah. Strawman?
Yeah.
Scarecrow. Straw Man, slightly different. When he gets his brain back and he's suddenly smart.
Of course. Yeah. Forgot about that.
I just like how there's someone in the stall just ready to give Homer shit for it. It's a right triangle, you idiot.
Yeah, giving Homer shit while he's taking a shit.
Yep. That's how the pros do it.
But yeah, not questioning that someone's just ranting about triangles in the stall and not like being silently awkward like some of us do in the toilet.
Leaving the open of, ooh, there's something you would see in the toilet every day.
Because, it doesn't reveal that the glasses are in there at the first. It's just Homer up, and it's like, why is he reaching in? And the other movie reference, of course, again, didn't get to many years later, was the Rain Man thing.
No, do that card counting thing again. Come on, do it.
Gotta leave the table.
Yeah, a casino worker encouraging the person to do the card counting thing again.
Yep.
And yeah, it's because of this scene that they actually removed that James Bond scene that was in the 138th episode Spectacular, because they were like, all right, this is just too many movie references in the casino.
Although I do like that. What's this card? Rules for stud poker.
What a pity, Mr. Bond. Tell me your plans for world domination.
I'm not falling for that again.
Oh, another playlist. Scott Christian reading the news.
Yeah, actually, sorry, I did note that and forgot that. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
Is this the only time he appears?
It's been, I'd say at least 5 in the classic era that Scott Christian was the newsreader. The most prominent one is when Krusty gets busted and it's like, now time for the news with Kent Brockman. I'm Scott Christian. Kent Brockman's off tonight. Because Kent's the field reporter in this one. It's like, the economic downturn, it's not just philosophy majors. Most qualified people are starting to feel the pinch.
Useful people are starting to feel the pinch.
Oh, yeah, and revealed that Barney's done 11 years of dance study.
Good for him.
And in that final scene as well with Homer, telling off Marge, the look of the sky was just gorgeous.
Oh, it's a beautiful animation, isn't it?
Yeah, that like blue to orange sunset, and then the clouds as well being like green, yellow, blue as well. There's just so much lovely contrast going on in that.
Yeah.
Like, I totally forgot about the dialogue because I just couldn't stop looking at it. It's beautiful. All right, guys, it's time to wreck this thing. Peter, you're first.
The cubic zirconium was the top one.
It sure was.
God damn, so deep in that cubic zirconium. It's just, look, I said it all before. There's nothing more I can add. This is just great, satisfying, entertains every single time. It hits all the right notes and really should be, God forbid, if you've ever met someone who's not watched The Simpsons, this would be one of the 10 episodes I'd put in there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just
to get things started.
Yeah, it's an unquestionable cubic from me. Like, again, the episodes look different in these critical watches, and what impressed me about this one is that there's so many moving parts and everything has its time in the sun and feels resolved.
Yeah.
Like, so often in these later episodes, it's like, it feels like a sketch show. Everybody's got a million stories that have nothing to do with each other, and then a few of them don't have an end.
Yeah, it's like Lisa's in the HD. We were just like, and it just stopped. It didn't end. It just stopped happening.
Yeah. No, and it's not a great ending for Lisa. Like, Marge still didn't help her, but
it's a conclusion.
Yeah. And a perfect example of one of these episodes where there's something happening to the town of Springfield and everybody's reacting to it. Everything is relevant to this story, and it's a masterclass of writing and especially ensemble writing. BT.
Well, I'm kind of surprised how a little bit slower in the beginning it was than I originally remembered. I think the ending is spectacular, and I think, if anything, always land the ending if you can get one part right, because that's what you walk away with and that's what you remember. So yeah, cubic zirconia from me.
All right. Unanimous cubic zirconia.
Woo!
This will be the 10th episode from season 5 to get a unanimous cubic zirconia.
Wow.
It will be joining Homer's Barbershop Quartet, Cape Fear, Boy Scouts in the Hood, The Last Temptation of Homer, that's the Mindy episode, Homer Loves Flanders, Burns' Air, when Bart Burns' Air, Sweet Seymour Skinner's Badass Song. We mentioned that one before, where Skinner gets fired. The Boy Who Knew Too Much, where the
Giant Ray's Krispy Square.
Yeah.
Oh, and their weight has been brutally beaten.
Yeah.
Chowder!
Chowder. And also Treehouse of Horror 4, that's the gremlin on the side of the bus, Devil Ned Flanders, and the super fun Happy Slide.
Which still has the gremlin on the side of the bus is one of my, again, another moment that will always make me laugh when Bart's freaking out and he's leaning leaning out the bus window and Homer just drives by and goes, "Hey, boy." Doesn't offer any help.
No. Amazing. All right, guys. Well, look, that about does it for the Simpsons Index for this week. But before we get out of here, we'd just like to briefly talk about things that we're into lately that are outside the Simpsons. Books, TV, music, movies, video games. What are you into, BT?
Toys That Made Us has a new season. It's good. I watched it all and then went, why is it all over already? I'm sad. Why are you only have 4 episodes per season? I'm sad. But great documentary series. Just to refresh, because I've recommended it before, but it's just basically they go through a iconic toy line and talk about its creation and how it did when it first launched and all this kind of stuff. And they're always really fascinating stories. They find a great way to present, even if you've a toy you don't care about, like the My Little Pony one. I don't care about My Little Pony, but the story of how it got made was really, interesting. And so check it out. It's on the Netflix.
Yeah. And as a kid that grew up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, I fucking came when I saw that come up. And as a wrestling fan as well, because they get into wrestling toys this season as well.
I didn't realize how much this season was absolutely perfect for you.
It's just, I mean, besides My Little Pony, if I was a brony, that would have hit the quadrants. But how about you, Peter? What are you into?
I mean, it feels pretty obvious right now because everyone's playing Outer Worlds and everyone's watching The Mandalorian. So those are the two things. I just finished Outer Worlds the other day, actually, and it was good. It took a bit of time to get going, but when I finished it, I was like, this was a satisfying conclusion, and it was Fallout in space.
I was about to say, 'cause I'm a big Fallout New Vegas fan. So
so it's very much in the vein of New Vegas. So that's good. The Mandalorian is good. Can we talk about other podcasts? Do you care about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are no other
So I went on this podcast called The Simpsons Index. They're a real totalitarian. So a friend of mine, it's been around for a while, but a friend of mine put me onto the You Must Remember This podcast. I don't know if you guys have listened to that one.
No, it doesn't.
So it's I don't know how many seasons they've done, but they're up to episode like 150 now, and they go into the parts of like Hollywood history that's not really covered. So with the launch of Disney Plus that kind of coincided with this new season of this show, and talking about how Song of the South isn't going to be on it, they do an episode about Song of the South and then use that to go into the history of Black America in Hollywood. Right. And it's really interesting tracking how the conflict between wanting to correctly represent, forgive me if this is not the correct term, African Americans in Hollywood, but also people wanting to have a job and having to play up caricatures like The Maid and the things like that. Really fascinating and depressing stuff, a lot of it. So so they use the film as a Kickstarter to go into this for a few episodes. It's worth a listen, especially if you're into Hollywood history. And I find old Hollywood just fascinating, disgusting and fascinating.
I was talking about history is viewed by pop culture. Sorry, what was the title again?
You Must Remember This.
I'm going to try and remember that.
Get a load of this guy.
I can't forget something. Absolutely love to check that out.
Good.
That's amazing.
It's good. It's really interesting.
And what I've been into, look, I've been playing a shit ton of Pokemon Shield lately. I don't feel like that's like... it's currently like one of the best ever selling Nintendo titles. Like the people that I'd be recommending it to are already, into it. So, but the other thing I was into lately, I have been sort of trying to think about, what my albums of the year have been for this year, because there've been a lot of great releases. I think frontrunners are currently Fontaine's and The Decline. But, sort of going through the releases of this year, trying to catch up and sort of see what I missed. I had no idea Stonefield had another album out this year.
When did they come back?
Apparently they never left. Because, I was really into them when I think they were one of the Triple J Unearthed,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're an early Unearthed success story.
Yeah. And, they've been going solid. They've had a pretty consistent output for the last 10 years or whatever they've been going.
I had absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, their 2019 album, Bent, is amazing. It's really sort of lackadaisical psychedelia rock, female vocals, and they're just a fucking powerhouse band, and they're like really inventive, and I love guitar-driven music with wacky keyboards and shit. So, it's right up my alley. So, Stonefield's album, Bent. Yeah. All right, guys. Yeah, that about does it for the Simpsons Index. Pete, thank you so much for joining us today.
Man, I think this first came up through a friend of ours named Sheridan, who's been on the show before, which apparently you, the listeners, hello, people's ears, all around the world, I'm assuming, right? And probably the moon. Said, you got to meet these two guys, they do this podcast, and you're a massive fucking Simpsons nerd, you should be on it. I'm like, sounds good. That was a year ago. So I'm glad we finally lined this up and were able to do it. It's been a blast, especially not just chatting with you guys, but viewing these through a critical eye. I've never really done it before, and I really think I love $Pringfield even more now. Like
Yeah.
it really made me
Yeah.
appreciate the emotional dynamic that was going on.
Once you
And
look at it and figure out the moving
yeah,
parts.
it's interesting. And
Yeah, it
now
really
you've
is.
also completely fucked The Simpsons for me because now I'm going to watch all these episodes and just be like, oh, let's see here.
Bronze. Gold. No, absolutely glad to have you on, man. And yeah, can't wait to have you back in the
I would
future.
love to come back in the future.
Yeah, I think we got to corral Sheridan and get her back on too.
Yeah, I think we should too. We'll make a good, what do you call four people together? Not a trio,
Quadrant?
a quadrant. Yeah, fuck it. We'll make a mad quadrant.
We'll be a review quartet.
Quartet, that was the word I'm looking for.
So I had to think of myself. So like, what can I say in the meantime? Quadrant.
No, I want to be a review quadrant now.
That's a good podcast title, The Review Quadrant. And BT, thank you as always.
Word.
And I've been your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house!
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can chat to us online at facebook.com/thesimpsonsindex or at Simpsons Index on Twitter and Instagram. And now please stay tuned for the bonus scenes! No, Lisa, you're the mother. God damn it, mate! Come on!
So just making sure your last name's Zaluzny?
Zaluzny.
Zaluzny.
Yeah,
I
you
was
were
wondering
close.
how that U worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty much phonetic. You just replace the U with two O's.
Oh,
and then
right.
it becomes phonetic. Zaluzny.
Yeah, I went the umlaut route.
Ah, yes. Oh, that's a good name for a band.
Umlaut route.
Umlaut route. Umlaut route.
Yeah, considering how much, bands love just throwing in umlauts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, how do you actually pronounce Motorhead with...
Motorhead.
I'm seeing which episodes of The Simpsons this guy wrote. Tim Long.
Yes,
Yeah.
Tim Long.
Which is surprising.
Oh, he's not good?
Oh, Beach has a shit list.
Oh,
And
he did
he's
Lisa Goes Gaga.
Yep.
Okay, enough said.
There it is.
Wow.
Yeah, way to just ruin any goodwill that he might have had in the
Yeah.
classic episodes by
Actually, this
writing
looked like it was one of
Lisa
his first ones.
Yeah,
Two,
he was a
three,
teens
four,
writer.
Well, he was a young,
6.
ambitious writer once upon a time, and
Right.
then slowly he became shit.
Fresh out of Canada.
Yes.
Yeah.
That explains why he did Skinner's Sense of Snow. Canadians like snow. I've been
Yeah.
led to believe that.
Why
It's
it's their favorite thing.
It's something that he knows well. You know, when you get snowed in at school, all the writers from LA are like, what?
Oh?
Like, guys, did you ever have that moment in school where you got snowed in and then the principal went crazy and someone knocked over a vat of salt from the salt factory next to your school and it freed everybody? Guys, right?
right?
Relatable, huh?
I don't know what this note means. It says study for the money. I mean, I like
Is
it.
this just a life goal
I
of
guess.
yours?
Study for the money. You know what, everyone out there? Study for the
I
money.
feel like you like to get messages out to the kids
Yeah,
on this
we do.
podcast. It's not just about watching The Simpsons and swearing a lot.
Yeah.
Stay in school and study for the money.
Also, fuck you.
And also Robert Canning of IGN.
Which one's Robert Canning in?
Oh my God, he works for IGN. What else would he be?
Ah, right. No, hang on, it's gone from my brain.
Come on, soundbite machine, work.
I know. Well, I've got too much pressure now.
It's like Nelly Furtado. He's like a bird.
Oh, was it Feather Touch?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why I felt like wrong when I was going to for Feather Touch.
He gave this episode an 8.1
Sorry,
out
can
of
you do
10.
it again so I can get the bite out?
Sure. Robert Canning of IGN.
Robert the Feather Touch Canning.
I forgot to bring the thing up because I am at the end of this podcast and I'm starting to get tired.
We have another one after this.
I
Wake
know.
up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
Can I just say that while today has been fun, I don't appreciate the lack of professionalism on this podcast.
The fuck balls you talking about?
I'm a very busy man. Fuck you. And I don't have time to wait while you get the software up on the computer. I will be rating this 1 star.
All right. And getting my shit. Oh, got it. That was a very good one.
I'm sending photos of you to Sheridan. Carry on. I know it's you getting splashed in the face by beer going,
If you end up